This is going to be another episode of Summoning Insight. So that, of course, means me and Monty initially talk, mull it over. The problem with this as well is if people don't know, I'll actually reveal one detail because fans of the show will want to know this information. I'm not even doing it just to be mean. That's just a happy byproduct. But being as, it's not like here's the problem I have with the whole TSM LCS situation. Like, my problem is this. It's being treated as though they're having a bad split. No. Let me just explain something, guys. Nobody has ever spent the money this team has spent while turning down people like Double F Jensen, champions, and then being this bad and this outrageously bad. Like, if people don't know, everyone makes fun of CLG. CLG have won 250% more games than TSM with an all-NA lineup minus Luger from fucking Turkey. Like, I don't think people get, this is, so bad. It's like, I don't even believe this is proof of the power of manifestation. Me and Monty's brains aren't this powerful. Even we couldn't make this happen. So as a result, it's getting to the point now where, as I say, just trashing them isn't enough. So essentially, I said on Twitter, we have to do something special to mark, if they really do come 10th place in the split, which is looking like they're going to at the bump, by the way, boys. If they really finish last place, we have to, in Insight and Esports tradition, celebrate and commemorate this moment as though it was, a 0-6 at World Second moment. So I was saying what we're going to do. Monty had a good one, which was, what was the premise?
A literature contest of some sort. So it could be, I don't know, we could make it more narrow than that, or we could just keep it broad and say, if you want to write a short story about what you think happened, I don't know where that's going. Probably dangerous places.
There's also where people have to realize,
or poems, limericks,
To be honest, the production on it has to be a little bit scuffed, guys. We have to mainly do it in our minds. Because I had a few fans on my Discord who had great suggestions, just they're impossible to do. Like someone said, you should just do a full-scale musical around the fact. Listen, that is a brilliant idea. Monty would love that. But I feel like it's going to be musicals. Really?
I fucking hate musicals, yes.
I love really opera, understood it myself.
But I really dislike musicals.
I will always say, Monty, I never was, in general, a fan of musicals. I wasn't a fan of them. Even when I was a kid, I used to think when you watch the good Disney movies, they're singing again. Fuck, 5 minutes, they'll be back to the movie. But it was worse, too, when I used to watch classic American movies. Do you know how underwhelmed I was when I watched Guys and Dolls? Monty, you've got one of them.
Sucks.
You've got one of the most gangster actors of all time. Literally, Marlon Brando. And the whole theme is it's like rival street gangs, and then they're fucking dancing show tunes. I remember just being like, how is this not ruining the vibe for anyone else? They're like that. Having the joke is they were almost doing those street dance-offs that b-boys have in the modern day, the 1960s or something.
Same shit with West Side Story. You take Shakespeare's worst play, and then Leonard Bernstein turns it into a gang dance-off. It's horrible. It's fucking terrible.
Oh, exactly. No, that was what I was thinking. I think I'd mixed up the names. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, you're right, actually. Yes, it was West Side Story, sorry. No, totally, exactly. By the way, though, I actually have a side question, though, because one thing I found that's very, very interesting is I saw a really interesting quote by, I think it was Chovy, actually, dude, where he was saying, Faker had that game where he played Kaiser mid. Right, basically, Chovy said that even though he thought Kaiser is a champion he potentially could play mid, he himself would never have played it previously because it wouldn't win lane, right? And Chovy's whole thing, obviously, is win the lane and then expand out. But he actually said a very interesting comment I want to get your thoughts on, which is he said the reason why he thinks it's viable now is he thinks in the current meta, it's not actually that important that you're up in lane on the mid champion. Depending on what it can do, it can sometimes be worth drafting anyway. I wonder what you would think of that because obviously, traditionally, it's one of the things I always harp on. To me, mid lane has always been far and away the most influential role in the game, and usually you probably did have to win lane to sort of get going in a match,
Well, I think that it's an interesting question. I think that because of the teleport changes, a lot of the priority has been on champions in mid lane, as we can see from all of the TF bans and TF picks, the increasing rate of Galio, even kind of prior to the package nerfs, Corki, who could previously get the package at 8 minutes and then start to affect the side lanes or affect objectives. A lot of it has been moving towards globals or champions that have heavy roam in mid lane, I think, to compensate for the lack of teleport options in the early game. Also, I think people are realizing that a lot of the AD carries that are very powerful right now are late game hyper carries anyway. Ryze would be another example of a mid laner, right? And so I think when you have these kind of champions in the mid lane, and you know that a lot of these AD carries, or potentially even some of these hyper carry top laners, are going to have a lot of effect on the combat in the late game. If you can accelerate them by sacrificing some power from the mid lane, you can do really interesting things. And if you look at the champions Faker has been playing, I think this is what T1 believes. I mean, I think we can definitively say that. What has he been playing? Because last week he played several games of Ahri, couple games of Galio, and then the game of Kai'Sa. I think he only played Ahri, Galio, and Kai'Sa this past week. If I'm remembering correctly from the VODs that I watched. And so they want to accelerate, Gumayusi on that Jinx in the bot lane, or potentially some of the carries that Zeus has been playing, like Jace or Kennen in the top lane. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, I think it's more than that. I think if you look at Kai'Sa in the bottom lane, it's been generally picked as a Zeri counter, because part of the problem with Zeri is actually just bursting her down when she wants to get away, because she just flies around over walls or moves super fast. So if you can close the gap with Kai'Sa and burst her down as she's trying to kite, that's been really effective. Tristana has also been another counter that we've seen in the laning phase. But on top of that, we see so many pick compositions recently. Compositions that can collapse really fast onto people. And Kai'Sa, with her range, and then being able to close that gap once you get the plasma down, it makes it very, very attractive for teams that want to collapse really, really fast. And it makes your AD carry into another pick champion. Now, clearly that's not the case if you're playing in mid, but it still operates on the same principle. But look at all the kind of champions. We've seen a heavy emphasis on Vex in the LPL. Vex is another champion that does have
some monster gear. If people have only seen Western Vex, go right now immediately and watch Knight and fucking Rookie play this champion.
Yeah.
They are unreal.
Yeah. So the Vex engages are huge. So if you look at champions like Ahri, champions that can get over walls, champions that have very, very long forms of engage, a lot of the champions that can use Everfrost in order to create a pick, these are the champions that many top teams are playing right now. Just because their engage range is so long, and you can basically play around whichever player is ahead and consistently collapse on the lane that player is in order to expand your lane even further. So I think that we're moving, interestingly, after talking about all these team fighting teams and the importance of playing around kind of 5v5 objectives. Now, it's not like Dragon got less important, but it's just the way you play around it now in terms of trying to get a pick first has been really activated. And here's the thing about any esport, I will say it, any esport, is that movement in FPS or RTS or MOBA is the most important ability, movement speed. How fast you can get to something is always the most important aspect of any of these games at the professional level, because it allows you to outmaneuver your opponents and actually play a more complete macro game. And so in the absence of early TP, or the fact that TP is gated by a long cooldown, right? You have other means to quickly and efficiently move around the map with some of these champions.
Yeah, the other thing as well is... let me think. I was trying to think what I was going to say earlier on that one. Oh yeah, that's one of the things also, if you think about that, makes that champion so bizarre, bearing in mind it's an ADC in theory. It's like that evolved W is OP as fuck, the range. It's an AD carry, remember? AD carries have to get an auto attack range. Not only that, once you've landed it, it's like the Joker, you just fucking engage with the ADC now. Like, it's such a ridiculous shot. It's why in some ways, and I guess to tie in, that's why in some sense it's balanced, because obviously it's not as great a pure laner at the moment. Like, otherwise it'd just be the most OP champion ever. Spoiler, anyone who saw Uzi I play it like 4 years ago know I was OP. Fucking it's ridiculous, wasn't it?
It's always been strong, but I don't think it hasn't been heavily picked until teams, first off, it always takes pro players time to adapt to these things, right? And she's not, especially in the way you build her AP, she's not as good at playing front to back team fights as other champions, right? Like, she's not a Jinx. And so you have to play very differently and play compositions that complement her strengths, because otherwise you will You will just get rolled if you try and front to back team fight. And it's also very dangerous because, she is squishy and you do have to go all in and you're relying on like Luden's bursts in order to accomplish these goals. So it's hard. And I think that Western teams, until they learn how to, we see almost no Vex priority in the West, although we did see Abadage play it this last week, but very much lower than, say, LPL, which is like Vex crazy right now. To be fair, LCK doesn't have as much Vex either. But if you look at the kind of compositions and you look at the way that players have been able to successfully play the Ahri, and you see the difference between Western mid laners playing Ahri and then like Faker or Rookie playing Ahri, there's a massive difference in their success.
I know we discussed it on the Nymera episode, but dude, those guys are still baiting these Western idiots into thinking Ahri's a good pick. You know what? I'm getting the vibe, considering it's still being picked so much in these games in the West, Monty. It has to be on some like fucking... Oh, fuck, what's the name of it has to be on some Viego shit. It must be tearing up scrims because what I'm seeing in the game, it just loses games in the West. It just loses. You're right, the elite mid laners in the East are fucking incredible on it, but like, I don't get the priority of the West for that champion, mate.
The thing about Ahri is that if you want to play it well, you have to play early Dark Seal in order to actually scale and snowball, which means that you cannot die, which means that your positioning and your communication with your team has to be really good, and you have to be able to run pick compositions with it because she's going to be weaker in most straight up 5v5 team fights if you don't have good positioning, not only from yourself, but from the entirety of your team. Or you're not planning in advance about how the Ahri is going to collapse onto one of the side lanes and you're going to get a pick and turn it into objective. I think the main problem is that Western teams simply do not plan, 2 minutes ahead enough to make the most out of the pick.
Some would say ever. I think too much might be being... Look, I could believe maybe, some really smart, like maybe Inspired thinks 2 minutes ahead, or maybe fucking Core JJ thinks 2 minutes ahead, Monty. I get the vibe a lot of players, they're just... Look, I've always said this about pros. I don't give a fuck what you're going to do to me. You're just animals. You're just reacting on impulse and fucking instinct. What the fuck? Just stimuli coming in. That's why you all still 5v5 fucking ARAM and LCS for fuck's sake. It's ridiculous.
I'm sure Ole, when he comes on, is not going to enjoy hearing about the 5v5 ARAM from the Golden Guardians game, of which many people pointed out that no one actually touched that top lane for 10 minutes in the mid and late game there, which is
seemed implausible, didn't it? Like how that could be
problematic, problematic to say the least. I do think it's a little bit overemphasized because it's funny. I think there was a lot going on in that game where Golden Guardians felt like they had to keep committing because there were so many staggered deaths and them trying to re-engage and take the advantage. So I do think it was a little bit over-exaggerated, but also like they should have been playing better to their win conditions. But before we discuss that, because I'm sure...
Also, by the way, if anyone thinks that intro was harsh about TSM, I'll just throw this in as well. Go look at the fucking lineups of Golden Guardians and FlyQuest and shut the fuck up. What are they even working with? And the joke is, by the way, I know no one wants to hear this. Right now, it's not even a fucking troll. A Blaze Olive is better than Bjergsen, mate. It's not even fucking trolling. Again, that sort was real. I couldn't believe it with my own eyes, don't worry. But like fucking, like now I have to be a hater. It's not even like, at least I was comparing with fucking Jensen before. Dude, it's a Blaze Olive. By the way,
Blaze Olive,
he's sort of improved a bit. He's sort of gotten a little bit split by split. I'll give him that.
He was underrated last year, I think. Yeah. And certainly, at least in terms of solo kill potential and like his laning, he's good. I think a Blaze Olive, his weakness comes into kind of mid-game and late-game engagement.
He's not peak Bjergsen, though, is he?
No. Bjergsen hasn't had to do much, but we could talk about that later. I want to, first off, before we get Ole on, I want to hit on the T1 win streak. There's several things to talk about LCK right now. Obviously, like they broke their own win streak in terms of best of threes. So we're seeing this incredibly impressive one run by T1 overall.
A much more impressive actual record now when you consider the other record was the first year of LCK when the Korean Exodus happened and all the bottom teams were terrible. Dude, the bottom teams back then used to win sometimes like 1-2 series, if you remember. So like you look now, you can even see like veteran players in the bottom teams of LCK. Like, I think like the parity in LCK makes this record way more impressive, even though, yes, true, they don't have the same top level competition that sort of does sour it a tiny bit, obviously.
And also, the wins against the number 2 team Gen.G are fraudulent, and they have had a bunch of fraudulent wins. I mean, would they have likely beaten Fredit Brionne this week with their full roster?
Team might want to have played for them to win. Yes, I agree, Monty. They might need your whole team to win that game. Yeah,
they had their entire challenger team in, and yes, T1, they cleaned it up. They won 2 games in 19 minutes, and that's what you expect them to do. But it's hard to take it seriously, and one thing I find interesting, Thorin, is that no one in this conversation, I think people actually forgot because they're so focused. For some reason, the conversation has been around like Fnatic's undefeated best of 1 season, right? And then T1's own record in best of 3s. Literally, I have heard nobody say the following, which is that one of the other records that is very important and one in which Faker also holds.
I don't know where you're going there. It's pre-OGN. It's the OGN Winter, right?
It's the OGN Winter in 2013, 2014, where they went 15 undefeated games. They won 5. What was it? Yeah, 15. They won all of their best of 3s in groups, and then 3 best of 5s in the playoffs. So they won 15 straight games, and they won 5 consecutive best of series without dropping a game to win the title. And we don't even know where that was going because the tournament just ended, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, but they beat Samsung Ozone, which is the team that would win Worlds that same fucking year. And also 2014 then became, as we went into spring.
It did. I think they still had Dade in that final law.
Yes, they did. That was before
before they swapped. Yeah,
but
they also beat KTB. They had a mega run. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was an incredible run that absolutely. I haven't heard anybody mentioning this whatsoever.
Forgotten for sure. Yeah,
because sure.
It should essentially have been held up. I agree. As the number 1 example of a perfect season. It's way better than the Fnatic one, for fuck's sake. Spoiler: Fnatic is already even in the regular thing. All my boys Soaz and Expect here with that Origin team took them to 5 games in the final. Like he's talking about. The SKT also 3-0'd the final, boys. Like a fucking OGN finals. Like, yeah, that's probably the best single season by any team ever. Yeah,
exactly. And also, it was that 2014 ended up becoming the most competitive year ever in Korea, and that stands to this day because it was before any of the Korean players fucking left. It was an absolute banger of a year, and even SKT, they didn't even make it to Worlds that year after they won this tournament without dropping a game. That's how competitive things became. Also, Piglet and Mandu dropped off a cliff. Like there were other problems, right? But this was a huge accomplishment, and Faker was literally playing in that tournament. So it is also Faker, the same player who is on this current team's accomplishment. And I just don't hear anybody talking about that whatsoever, which is a little bit mind-boggling.
There's an obvious reason. I'm just going to be a cunt now. Don't know why I'm even giving disclaimers. Spoiler, I'll be doing that a lot. But here's the cunt move, Monty. I'm just going to start ruining esports the way you all ruin it for me. So, whenever I bring up, I made a great video on this last year, Monty. If I was to bring up Froggen's Prime, so it's like season 2 to season 4, right? You know what everyone would say? They'd all go, oh, stop banging on about that. That's ages ago. It was a different game. But somehow Faker, season 3 to season 5, that's relevant somehow. Am I missing something? That's in the same fucking time period. How is Faker allowed to have season 3 to season 5 count for him? How is Uzi allowed to have those 2 Worlds finals count for him? But somehow, fucking old school Western players, that doesn't count. They can only be in season 9 and season 10 and season 11. What are you talking about, boys? Like, your whole career counts. So, yeah, I think it's whack when everyone just deletes history. Because that was a mad. Come to think of it, you're right. I haven't seen anyone reference that whatsoever.
And they might have, because, here's the thing. I'll be honest, guys. I don't watch the LCK pre-shows. I just skip directly to the games. And so I don't necessarily and I also skip around in the games quite a bit. So it could have happened on LCK, but at least in terms of the punditry that I've heard, especially surrounding the scene, that has not been an emphasis whatsoever in the conversations that have been going on. And here's another question for you before we get Ole on, Thorin, because this is absolutely wild to me. We are approaching the LCK playoffs. And currently, as we saw in the T1 versus Fredit Brionne game, and as we've referenced previously, there is still no rule in the LCK to allow players to compete from their team facilities. They must provide substitutes.
I know where you're going.
When going to this.
You're going to have the problem.
Are we just going to ruin playoffs? Are we just going to fucking ruin playoffs, guys?
We're about to do what we are doing in CSGO every LAN now, which is if one person pops, they're out the team. So that means, by the way, if for some reason they do a test before the final and Faker pops or Gumayushi, he's out. Now the fucking sub's in, and that's just history. Unfortunately, yeah, that isn't. I agree with you, mate. My problem is you either put the contingency that somehow it's possible to play remotely still so the competition can continue, or it has to just only be online. I think this middle ground is actually maybe worse than the positive. Because some people get to play online, great. So you get to have a crowd, great. But in history, wouldn't it be whack if, like, I mean, just think of the story already of how we've had to set up their win rate, mate. The whole win record gets sexier and sexier in reverse as you go. Well, there was no Gen G, and then of course that, and then Frederick Breon didn't even have their real, like, suddenly it becomes like, well, I mean, they did win the games though, you know, like.
But here's the thing, though.
That means the whole playoffs essentially we're all just doing this the whole time, time for 3 weeks, please.
But it's not only that. It's also going to affect who is in playoffs, and also what the seeds are potentially, right? Like, yes. It could have already affected, Gen G seeding, for example, because they had to post the substitutes in the two matches they played against T1, where, if they win both of those, all of a sudden they're ahead of T1 in the standings, right? So there's a huge question mark here about what's going on. And especially because Korea is getting absolutely slammed by the pandemic right now. Like, their cases are through the fucking roof. And as you can see, as more and more players contracted, it is basically, it's not there's no containment in Korea right now. It's a complete mess. And so you are almost guaranteed, because of the state of the pandemic and the spread of the disease, that some members of teams in playoffs will get it in the final week, which could affect seeding or even entrance into the playoffs, or actually in the playoffs themselves, which could have a massive, massive effect. And what I don't get, again, during the pandemic, these teams were playing from their team facilities. They were playing remotely. What is preventing players from playing remotely again? This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. There is another option. Just let teams play from home. And we know it's not even a riot policy. Like, in LCS, this past week, FlyQuest had, I think, a couple of their staff members test positive, and then the FlyQuest team just played from their facility in Los Angeles out of precaution. Like, why is this decision being made in the LCK? And again, who is in charge of this decision? Because we never see the LCK commissioner. Who the fuck is the LCK commissioner? Why do we never see statements from this person? And where is the public acknowledgement of what is going on within this league? It's embarrassing. It's fucking embarrassing.
Do you happen to, just an aside, if you don't obviously just say it, do you happen to know what the actual policy is? Like, is the logic that, like, a day or two before they play a match on stage, they have to all do a mandatory test, and then there's because the problem I have immediately, just as someone who's been to Korea, if people don't know, Korea as a country, I know people get all butthurt, but we're talking with broad strokes here, contrasted. Like, all countries can't be identical in their behaviour. Put it this way, contrasted with where I am from, Korea is much more, I would say, unfortunately, of a hypochondriac country. If people don't know, in fact, this is what's hilarious, mate. I might be the first person to ever have a fucking interview with a Westerner with a mask on. LS was wearing one in that old fucking Reflections from, like, 2014, you remember? Because at the time he had a cold, so because he's the most, like, Korean of all the Westerns you ever meet. He was already wearing one the whole time because it was social etiquette at the time, if you had a cold, to wear a mask, or the flu, to wear a mask. So the problem I have is this. One, I think, unfortunately, it's a country where it would essentially almost be considered dishonorable if you sort of, like, skimped on any of those aspects. You're supposed to be, like, as, like, strict as possible with all the rulings. And then secondly, unfortunately, this is why I wanted to know if anyone knows, like, the frequency of when they do this. Because if it's some sort of scenario where every team is, like, self-testing every day, that's just going to increase the chances that one person has, like, a false positive or something. I'm sorry, it just is. Whereas if in the West, you're only doing, like, a mandated test once, like, it just reduces the chances that someone randomly pops. Again, we're not talking about people who are actually ill. We're talking about there's a decent margin of people where if you just do enough of them, you can eventually have a positive, can't you, unfortunately?
And here's the thing, Thorin, that we should be extra worried about. T1 hasn't had any of these issues. And as we know, even if these players are vaccinated, it doesn't prevent Omicron breakthrough cases. It prevents them from being as bad, but it doesn't necessarily provide significant protection from you getting it. And so if the T1 players haven't gotten it yet in a country that is being absolutely ravaged right now, I'm just waiting for T1 to actually, have it themselves or somebody on the T1 staff, and then I guess playoffs just gets ruined. I guess that's it, unless they can change the policy.
Obviously, Monty means he is just anticipating that would be a terrible outcome that would ruin the playoffs. He doesn't mean I'm just waiting for T1 to get COVID and ruin the playoffs. He doesn't mean it like that. We all understand the phrasing. Yes, of course.
Yeah, but you have to understand that, like, by not having it this variant recently, you're kind of like, well, given the current state of affairs, it's now making it more likely that they get it during playoffs than if they just got over it faster.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, that's true, actually.
Yeah, it's bad. It's very bad. So, I mean, I really hope that we have a legitimate playoff here, but I don't see how that is going to be possible if they don't actually reinstitute policies where players can play remotely. And that is what absolutely should be done before the final week of competition.
By the way, even though it's miles and miles away, I hope somehow, Monty, we're in a world where you can choose by what method, but we just don't have this set of thresholds to go through to have a tournament. Because imagine Worlds, if someone like can't play a playoff game or something, it's genuinely going to ruin the narratives. If people don't know, even though this wasn't actually, I mean, it was partially of it. We just had a giant event in Counter-Strike that effectively, the results almost certainly were altered by people testing positive and having to have stand-ins, and then also like a whole war scenario in the background of some of the teams. Like if you watch the games, it absolutely did sort of like sour the mood and ruin a bunch of the matches. So as much as we understand it's not the fault of the person test positive, we'll get all that, but the point is, like, in history, it's just going to ruin the moment in it. So I hope by Worlds is all just gone and we're just back to a normal fucking tournament. By the way, I had a lot of other LCS talks, but I assume we're going to talk about with all.
Yeah, we'll talk about them with all.
Wait till he comes on.
And the final thing, Thorin, is that MSI is supposed to be held in May in Korea. Now, I assume based on the pattern, right? Yeah, I assume based on the pattern. That's been a leak, by the way. I don't think that's been officially confirmed, because they can't confirm it because of the immigration status in Korea and the problems with the COVID outbreak at this point in time.
So this is also assuming that they're going to remove some restrictions or something.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to. I think Korea has removed a lot of restrictions, and also just based on the way that the Omicron surge has worked in other countries, I would imagine it would mostly die down by May, based on the data that we've seen in other places. But who knows? Because the Korean government has been very strict. I mean, I was in Korea for like a month in November and into early December, and I got a quarantine exemption because I have family there, and I have a vaccine that they can check on, and then I had to do all these I had to test like the day after I got there, and then a week after that with a government facility, and it was very intense. And the way that they took away quarantine exemptions and then moved it back to, even if you have a house there, you have to quarantine by yourself. And if you're a foreigner who doesn't live there, you have to quarantine in the government facility. Like, that's back on for the most part these days, as I understand it as well. So, this is, I don't know how they're going to get people into this country unless the government relaxes some of these restrictions, or, they are walking into a scenario where it could still be raging in terms of transmission. And then it would be very difficult for them to host MSI in this country.
Now, I'll also say, by the way, as an aside, because no one in League of Legends cares, so they're not thinking about this, it's more CSGO where we care. If they have it in Korea, there's actually still a chance the LCL teams can go. Because, spoiler, there's no way those fucking Russian players are coming to Iceland or something like that anymore. That's over, I'm afraid, boys, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean,
USA, anywhere, like, obvious,
Yeah, there are going to be a lot of questions about Worlds. Now, Worlds being in North America, I think there's less of a chance that any of the COVID, because there basically are not COVID restrictions in the US anymore. At least here in Los Angeles, they've lifted all the mask mandates and everything like that. So I mean, it's pretty much back to more or less normal, even in LA. So I think by the time Worlds rolls around, like, there probably won't be super big issues with it in the United States. They've already announced they're letting fans back into the LCS for playoffs. Yeah, they're doing the finals in Houston. So looks like it's kind of okay. Also, part of Worlds is the first part's in Mexico, and Mexico has never had any restrictions ever. Like, when I did the Rainbow Six major in Mexico, I didn't even have to provide a negative test to fly into the country. So that was never.
The joke is, I don't even care if people get upset at this. Mexico, low key, has a mega underrated healthcare system if people don't know. Like, I actually saw in airports in Mexico, dude, they have like vending machines that have all those, like, I can't remember what the term that I can't remember the fucking name they have for them. You know, all the things that you take immediately if you think you're getting something like COVID, the initial things you take that, like, I can't remember the name of this fucking term, the terminology. Like, it's not like procedurals, it's something like that. It's like the thing you take at the beginning when it's very mild. They just sell that in vending machines, dude. All the shit that like everyone in America's scrambling for, or like, are you allowed to prescribe it? Are you not? Like, that's just available down there apparently. So it also, to be fair, if you were going to have it in a place, sounds like it's a place where you got the most options available. So could be pretty good.
And you can set up whatever precautions you want as a private company, but they have just let anybody in there, which is why you've seen esports events take place there, because it's a lot easier to run them. Even, you know, in the Rainbow Six Major, we rented an entire hotel and then basically quarantined, you know, a massive hotel where the venue was inside of it. So you could create your own bubble if you chose, but it made it a lot easier for people from all over the world to get into the event. So in any case, we should probably get Ole on now, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we'll talk about LCS.
Right, we're back. We've got our guest here, which is Ole from Golden Guardians. I won't hold against him Season 9 Spring of Golden Guardians, where Froggen was playing some straight fire MVP level mid lane, and Ole here was just fucking inting with Deftly. You know. But I guess we won't hold that against you. Look, it's a new day. It's 2022 now, Ole. We've all been through a lot. That was a difficult time in your career.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, it was really a hard time, but yeah. I mean, I feel like this year is kind of way harder than before. I
Really?
don't know. Yeah.
In what way?
Oh, I mean, it's
what are
like
the challenges?
It's like 2019. We start from 0-4. But somehow we made the spring playoff.
Yeah.
But you know, people don't know. But do you know what happened at the 2019?
Tell me.
Okay, so at the time we were doing really well in Scream, and then one day I randomly watched smoking cigarette is bad for your health or something. That was on YouTube
Where's
algorithm.
this going? Come on, where's this going?
Yeah. So that was a YouTube algorithm just random popping off to me. So I was like, holy shit, I was smoking this for like years? What the fuck? Okay, I should quit. Otherwise I'm gonna fucking die or get cancer.
This in 2019 from a random YouTube video.
So literally before the first stage game in XGS, I literally watched it and I was like, hey guys, they were my teammates, like I said, hey guys, I really have to quit cigarette, otherwise I'm gonna get cancer, I'm gonna die. So literally 3 days before stage game, I literally throwing the cigarette, throwing my laptop.
Must have been so hard, right? Did you get all withdrawals? Was it really hard?
Yeah, so about first day was okay, but second day and third day my focus level was getting crazy, like lower and lower. So on stage, like I literally say one thing like, hey guys, I'm not going in, I'm waiting for level 6, but I literally engaged before level 6 and then I die. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? What the fuck am I doing? And then after we lost 0-2, and then Nick Smith came in, hey, Ole, what the fuck? Like, what happened? And then I told him, I randomly quit cigarette. And then he was like, what the fuck, Ole, just smoke cigarette. Like, what? Just, why are you just stop smoking? Like, he was so tilted. So after we 0-4, I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna smoke a cigarette, and I rather to win instead of dying. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna. I just like, I smoke cigarette, and then we start to win, and then we got playoff. So that was behind the story. So, but
the thing is, if this was like the 1950s, mate, we could make all commercial like that. It's like LCS players smoke Marlboro Reds, like fucking some shit like that, right?
It's all right, Thorin. We just have to be like Formula One and then get the secret cigarette sponsorship, which is like the Ferrari, Mission Winnow or whatever the Marlboro thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just do the same thing. It's like now this year I don't smoke cigarette. I quit last year. But it's like players should do the same thing like every day. I think that's what I learned from 2019.
You got to keep a routine, right?
Yeah, keep routine is really the key.
Indeed.
I think that as much as smoking is dangerous in the long term for you, Ole, probably trying to quit cold turkey during a season is not the best idea. that
yeah.
performance.
That was worst idea. That was worst idea in my life. Like Cold Turkey, before stage game, I was like completely off my mind. Like I didn't know. Like
that's actually fucking hilarious. And needless to say, guys, obviously, like many of the Korean pros smoke because smoking is much more common in Korea overall. Although they cracked down big time on it. When I got to Korea, you could still smoke in bars, and then they banned that when I lived there. And then they like doubled the price of cigarettes. They're still only like $4 or $5 a pack, which is like way cheaper than America. But they used to be like $2 a pack. So yeah, it was interesting times. So anyway, that is a wonderful story. Also, speaking of Froggen, you know, here's a story about Ole and me. Because the first time I met Ole was at IEM San Jose in 2014. Yeah, and he was playing on Pain Gaming,
from
the Brazilian team.
Yeah.
And you know, here's the thing about Ole that you guys might not know is that Ole's been all over the fucking world, right? He's a truly international LoL player, and outside of the game and inside the game, but Ole is known for being very smart as a person. Like you were a very good student, right?
Yeah, I study very hard. Yeah, really hard. Yeah.
So a lot of professional LoL players in Korea are not good students. They, their families maybe don't have a lot of money, and so they end up playing League of Legends. Ole, definitely not that.
People quit early as well, when they're like 13 or something. Yeah.
So what was so interesting is that Pain Gaming's like coaches and management were there, and they were telling me how fast Ole learned Portuguese.
Okay.
In when he was in Brazil, and his English was still pretty good at the time too. So I was talking to him at this party, and he was like, he didn't know Froggen. He was like so excited to meet Froggen, like the legendary Froggen. And he was telling me about this, so I was having a conversation with him. So I was like, "Do you want me to just introduce you to Froggen?" And so I did, and they like start talking the entire time. Like later on, they become teammates, and so that was the beginning in which Ole started to like get into the North American League of Legends scene.
I mean, but the reason why I could join the North LCS was because of you, Monte, isn't it? Like, it's kind of like when IMT looking for support, they ask you, and then we say like, oh, maybe talk to Ole or something.
I did say that.
I didn't have any relationship with any people in NA. Like when I got offer from like not even offer, like IMT core like contact me. Do you want to have a tryout? Do you want to call? I was like, I have no one. Like I literally have 0% like knowing LCS, but like who the fuck told me about it, And then in the end I figured out there was Monte Cristo telling IMT about me. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, because you were on KT, and here's the other. We can go into the Ole facts. So here's another one because I see weird comments about your name sometimes. So because people don't know that
I've never been to Korea.
That like Ole is like the catchphrase of, or was, I don't know if actually it still is, was the catchphrase of KT Telecom, like the telecom company. Yeah. So when you joined KT, you like named yourself after their like mantra. It would be like if you were sponsored by Nike and you named yourself Just Do It. Which
there you go. Something like that. That's right. Yeah. It's like that time before I played League of Legends, my nickname was the Toxic. And then I was playing some gun game, but that time my nickname was Toxic. And then when I talked to my coach, hey, my nickname was Toxic. Can I use Toxic? And he was like, better not to do it. And then I was like, okay. And I asked my mom, hey, mom, what should I do? And then she's just like, do whatever you want. Okay, I'm going to go Ole. And then that was the whole story. Like,
which is hello backwards, by the way, which is, I think, where it came from with KT.
Right.
So...
the most underrated part, dude, the craziest one to me is, remember how many years Ole has been around like NA, League of Legends? Do you know how many people aren't aware he even played in the LMS?
Yeah,
that's when I actually first saw you, Ole, was when you were on that Hong Kong esports team where you were like that close to going to Worlds a couple of times.
That was painful, yeah.
No, that's impressive. Like, I'm sure, again, you had to speak different languages and stuff. It's very difficult, right?
Yeah, I mean, but also what I realized is like, I went to Brazil. That time, Pain Gaming was the last place team. And then, somehow we worked really hard, and the Pain Gaming got number 1 in the end. And then after I left, they put like BRTT and then new support, and then they got number one, and they went to World Championship.
A year after, yeah.
Yeah, and then I went to Hong Kong Esports. My Hong Kong Esports was the also last place team almost, and then I made them,
Okay.
and really close to World Championship.
Okay.
And then I fail, and then now I went to.
Oh, wait a second! I'm getting a call. Like, Ole, there's a guy called Reginald wants to talk to you. You got a moment, mate? He says he thinks he can make a deal out with you.
I mean,
You're apparently a miracle worker, so it's pretty good taking all these last place teams.
He's going to reunite you with Double Lift in the bot lane.
But it's like what I realized is like whenever I went to other region, there were always number one, number two team, right? That time, KD Gaming was number one in Brazil, and when I went to Hong Kong Esports, they were like AHQ, Flash Wolves. They were clearly number one team. So I always in the position that I need to challenge. So when I moved to LCS, I was also challenger. It's like they just put me with the Cody-san, so I need to play so hard to get somehow a playoff.
Yeah, we know about Cody-san. We know.
Yeah, and then
he plays in the RL style. Yes, he plays in the LFL if people don't know. I know.
Yeah, and then after first year, I got lucky getting offer from Team Liquid, playing with the Double Lift, and then really good player. So I think only Team Liquid was the first time that kind of putting myself with the really number one players. So I was kind of thinking it's like because after my contract over in Taiwan with the Hong Kong Esports, Flash Wolves gave me the offer. Like the salary was not really good, but like they gave me offer. Oh, okay, Ole, we wanna put you with the Sword Art together, and then I was like, wow, that should be my opportunity, But that time IMT paycheck. Hey Ole, are you sure? And I was like, oh. So yeah, I think at that time I had to choose do I want to be in the top team in Taiwan or should I challenge again in North America? So yeah, at that time I choose the IMT after.
Wait, I actually have realised, Ole, your entire career is somehow hidden. It's like you're a shadow person or something. Because here's the other thing: if I asked fans who was Double Lift support when he first won in Team Liquid, they're all going to just say CoreJJ, dude, even though it wasn't. It was actually Ole. Ole won 2 championships, and people aren't aware. He really did. He was there. That was him.
I mean, it's like, before I joined Team Liquid, the Team Liquid was literally the worst team in the League of Legends.
I see the trend there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing Navigator or whatever, and then and then when I got offer from Team Liquid, I was like, is that good organization? I was not even sure, but I truly believe on the XMC at that moment. So okay, I follow Jake no matter what. So I just I just go there. But yeah, I mean
Can I ask you a question about Smithy actually?
Yeah.
Is he alive?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Have you seen him recently?
I think he's still looking for, I don't know, wannabe coach, I think.
Okay.
But, yeah. I mean,
here's my question. In Korea, the vibe at work is sort of it's a bit like in the West, you say work hard, play hard. So you have to work really hard at your job, but if you go out with your boss and you have a dinner, everyone's drinking soju, there's shots drinking, you just put it behind you. I've heard Smithy was a bit of a partier when he's in Team Liquid. He was the guy who might just be out on Friday night, even if there's a game on Saturday. Is any truth to this? What would you say?
Okay. So here's the thing. I think when I look at the LCK veteran player and then I look at LCS veteran player, I feel like it's LCS player. It's I want to be really honest, okay? So LCK player, the veteran players are faker, depth. They're 2 years younger than me, but they are the oldest there, Because if you start to be kind of complacent and then don't play solo queue much or don't play 14 hours, something like that, the coach gonna warn them. What the fuck? Let's say I was playing 17 hours a day and then I randomly play 8 hours only, and the coach gonna be oh, what the fuck? What happened with you? And then if I don't have a good reason, they'll be like, that's interesting. Okay, let's see. And then a few weeks later, the academy player or whatever person come take my spot. That's what happened in HK. But in HCS, it's okay, so when I play less and less, and then the coach gonna say something, but the coach has no other option. That's the problem.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so it's even the Team Liquid at the time, people know XMC didn't actually play much as other young jungler, but what he's winning every stage game. So why you wanna replace him? There's no other option.
Exactly.
Yeah, but also I was kind of surprised. They 2019 like XMC won 4 times in a row, and they randomly like threw XMC away with the
agreed.
Broxa. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I think that's really weird for me, at least in NA, because and it was why just like threw him away. But the thing is, whoever import comes there, just keep doing same thing over and over.
True.
But other imports will be like 2 or 3 years later, they start to be complacent. I think nowadays I look at other team. It's like when I was in here 2019, let's say 8 player were playing like really crazy whole day in solo queue. Now I look the player, it's like they don't even play like 3 games a week. I'm like, what the fuck they're even doing? It's because I'm even playing champion queue. I checked like every player, they are not even playing. And they're not even playing even NA solo queue. I'm like, what they're doing?
Out them, Ole. Who isn't playing? Name the names. Who isn't playing in Champions queue?
I'm not gonna flame, but it's like
it's not Ole. Naming the people who aren't doing things is not flaming them.
Oh,
it's just telling. It's just that's just a reflection of reality. You're not offering an opinion on it.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's like okay. I'm not gonna name it, but I'm gonna name the team. No. Yeah, name the team. So, when I was actually getting rank 3-ish in Champion Queue, I was literally one day I was like typing every team, like TSM, 100Cs, like GGS, whatever. And then, there were like, 3 teams actually literally 0 games for a week. Oh, yeah. And then that was like really surprised me. It's like
three teams didn't play any of the Champions Queue for a whole week.
I think first was the TSM. I think Shani was only playing Champion Queue from TSM.
Maybe some of the TSM players look like they've never played League of Legends ever in their life. So
yeah. I mean, then
keep going anyway.
And then I was checking 100C, and then 100C was kind of playing but not spamming it. And then our team was like, I think our team is the most kind of playing it compared to other team. And then
what was the team? EG, of course.
EG playing a lot, and what else? Team Liquid, I think Byoxon was always playing, and Hansama. And then I think TR was really playing well. I think it's like 5 team playing okay enough, and then 5 team actually really not play much.
Right.
So I don't know. Then I question. Like, I didn't ask them straight, like what they are doing. It's like the fun fact in North America is like 12 to 5 p.m. you play like Scream, and then after 5 p.m. the team is like, guys, do whatever you want. It's free time, but it shouldn't be like actual free time. It's like it should be like, okay, our Scream is done. It's the individual work time, But like, what I got is like, all free, guys. Do whatever you want. Fine, But if this happened in HK, it's like HK literally gonna open solo queue, no matter what. Even though now some Chinese random supercon coming, whatever. But it's like people gonna just play it. But like here, after 5 p.m., and then you have a dinner time. Maybe you have to chill for 1 hour for mental care, whatever. But after 6, 7 p.m., where are you? Like, where are you? Like, this, like especially last week, the Champion queue got LP didn't matter. So I played. I look for queue. I literally wait for 5 hours. No one actually looking for game. I'm like, where are you guys? It's like also the weird thing is like only rank 10 got money. So like besides rank 10, there were like 200 people actually didn't even matter about the money. So when LP doesn't matter, they should actually keep playing because you guys didn't get money anyway. But like now, like there's no one. I mean, today after 1 p.m. the Champion queue gonna start. But like I was really confused about people not playing even Champion queue. So it's like when Champion queue was like kind of launching out, people are saying like, "Oh, better ping, better environment," and then people let's play together, ha ha ha. And what I got is like end of the champion queue split, people start to play less and less because they realize they are not getting money. I'm like, I think money should be just like reward when you just practice hard. It's not like you have to aim
the
for.
goal. Yeah, exactly.
So
The
it's
goal
like-
is get better at the game.
What they don't realize, Ole, is that they can also make money by playing more League of Legends and then getting a better contract on a LCS team by improving their performance.
Yeah, I mean it is, but it's like what I got is like people like everyone is just complaining about each other. It's like any sucks, any player sucks, or their solo queue sucks, their communication sucks. So why then everyone is sucks here, and then if you don't play and there's no any improvement, it's like in solo when I was like last year when I played Korean solo queue, what I realized is like literally everyone just like playing whole day. And then, and then when I got rank 10-ish, people just like figure out I was playing Q. They literally sniper at me, and then like kind of challenge me like I have to play new champion. And then it's like every game like and then I face against like Keria, like Life, like Delight. They're really insane players.
Best, yeah.
Yeah, and then they play solo queue after 3 block of script, like really insane. But now I got here, and then I feel like people are not even like trying best because it's like in Korea solo queue, what I have done like 14 hours or 16 hours solo queue is a normal for every pro player. But here I do same thing like how I did in Korea. People are like, "Oh, Ole, you grind so hard." I'm like, "No, this is normal for Korea. It's so normal. It's like I actually before the end of split like Sven." Looking for Sven and Kaori, they're like some certain Jojopyun.
I
Like,
think they play a lot. Yeah.
certain player like really spamming game.
Sven is a grinder for sure.
Yeah, he grinds so hard. But like, if they come to Korea, people are not gonna call him grinder. People call them just like they're just playing game. Like who care? It's like because everyone doing like 14 hours at least. It's like they are not gonna be special in Korea. But like it's kind of funny for me. It's like I just do basic normal thing, and then people think I'm grinding so hard, like for my dream or something. No, this is just basic attitude in Korea. Yeah,
but here's the thing, though. You got to take in English. There's an idiom. It says you got to take the rough with the smooth. Like even things are bad, there's good side. So the upside is this all here. If everyone actually did really practice and try really hard and do a good job in America, it wouldn't be easy for people like you to just rock up and just take their job, would they? So good news is you're always going to be a hard worker, like you said, compared to those Americans. You know, fucking double lift, mate. His idea is like watch one less anime. That's like, wow, he's really in worlds mode now. Holy fuck! Like, even the best players don't try, dude.
Yeah, I mean that's the environment stuff because like it's like. Let's say, like I don't have a kids, but like, in kind of rich family, usually they throw their kids in the really good environment school, right? Because everyone is studying hard there. So it's like studying hard is normal in the environment.
Yes.
But it's not that good, environment to study hard. Because when you study hard, people see you while you are doing it. Hey, just have a better life. What the fuck? It's like kind of see you in real way. But like in Korea, it's like really good, like high school, like better environment. It's like everyone study hard, and then of course, if you study like hard, then they're like, you're doing right job.
Dude, I figured it out. Here's the secret. This is why I should be the LCS commissioner. Here's how you make LCS pros really care about playing in Champions Queue.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's, I don't know if you know this, but in CSGO, Counter-Strike, the game I came from, one of the things they did to make the viewership go up is they made it that if you watched the game and your account was connected to Twitch, you would randomly, if you were lucky, just get dropped an item, a skin for the game. So loads of people would watch. What you need to do is this. Randomly, if you play Champions Queue, you never know when you're going to get it. It's just, there's a set amount of people. You just get access to an exclusive Yeezy drop Right there, you all here. Every pro grinding 14 hours a day, fucking sticks under their eyes, coffee. They're probably smoking. I think I've sold it for you there, right there, mates. Look, the new Yeezy drop. There you go.
I will push back a little bit, Ole, because I think this is an interesting conversation. Because your attitude is, and there has been very credible research that after a certain point, like if you're in your 14th hour of game, kind of like physically doing it, right? Are you actually like engaging and improving, once you reach like 13, 14 hours a day? I think there's
your brain get tired. You stop taking it for. What do you think?
Okay, so here's the thing. I think to be good player, you don't need to spam it. You don't need to actually spam the game. But to be the actually best, sharpest player, you should spam it. Because it's like when you watch the T1 game, it's like they, against KT, they won the 3v5 situation. It's like that time, just general that 1 second moment, you flash earlier or not matters. And then you also can see the Ari charm or enemy AD auto attack. It's a really small thing, can change a lot. So to actually compete for the really top team, you should spam it. Because that time it's all about knowledge. It's about your brain gonna just like react it. Because it's like in World Championship, I saw the carrier just like lantern flash, just dodge the Chubby combo. That's not like you just like can have it. You just, because you spam the game, you see the game kind of slowly at the moment, and then you react to it. So it's like I kind of admire the T1. When I watch their stream, it's like everyone just like spamming game till whole night, and then they just play Scream together. They play solo queue together. I really like their environment, and that should be what every team has to do to compete for best team. But I don't see that from I only see that from Gen.G and T1. I don't know like what other teams are doing even in SK, but like I don't know. I really like the T1 environment, how they set up like this. Yeah.
Put it this way, Monty, I sort of agree with him. Here's the problem. If I was asking, and this is the mistake I actually think Western teams make, because for PR, in interviews, they want to sound like they care about the player as a person, not just as a pro player. Like, I really care about, like in your case, when they were trying to be like, we're going to help them understand finances and education. It's like, that's all great, but winning in the game is first and foremost. And the problem is this, even though in theory, I agree, if you want to have a nice life, I wouldn't suggest grind a video game 14 hours a day. But I do agree with Ole, because when I've seen in sports, the greatest players of all time do have that maniacal practice streak in them. And actually, what he's saying, I think, is a very valid counter. I agree, Monty. 14 hours in, you're probably not like anywhere close to as sharp on like hour 4 or something, whatever the sweet spot is. But I do think Korean esports could be a good example of, because in StarCraft Brood War, it was always the best players who had the star sense. They just somehow, from a billion hours of playing, it was almost like for real. They would just be like sensing a glitch in the matrix, like I felt something in the force. And then they just, like he said with the carrier flash, they would just do like the maddest move ever. And you just think there's no way he could have calculated that. But it's like he's just in the game at that point in the time,
I mean, here's a deep cut. Here's some real esports lore for you that I don't think I've ever really discussed publicly. But so it's a story about Ma Jae-yoon, his ID was Savior, who is one of the most infamous, because of match fixing, Brood War players of all time. Yeah. And when I was living in Korea, I talked to people who used to be part of the CJ organization, CJ Entus, which was Savior's team. And some of the people there were telling me stories about how Savior, like at his peak, was on some like insane bender, basically like hedonism, where they would literally like he would
all the time,
he was partying all the time. He would go out at night, and they'd have to like find him in the morning and shit like that. And he was still playing some of the best StarCraft that's ever been.
If I say this part of the story, people are going to take it too extreme because they don't know the cultural context. Like I heard the similar story, Monty, that he was doing stuff like where you wake up on the bench, like Oh, and then you just go back to the gaming house. Now, the problem is in the West, they're going to think that means like, oh my God, he's a degenerate. It's like, no, people actually did that back then. Like, you see, like businessmen sometimes they just get too drunk, they can't make it home. Yeah, it happens sometimes. That's not as crazy as it sounds.
As far as I can tell, the primary job of the police in Korea is to get drunk people home.
Just move you along. Yeah. Because here's the thing, though. There's one detail, though, that Westerners don't get about that drinking culture, though. When you go into work the next day, no one talks about it. It's just you're supposed to put it behind you. We're at work now. You don't get judged because you have like a slight hangover. They're all going to have a hangover if they went out to the boss or whatever. So people just like, it's like I say, you work hard and then you play hard.
Yeah. I mean, but it's like you say Majin, right? It's like there's a Junior Lee. It's kind of same person. Like he won 3 times in StarCraft, but what people say is like he didn't even practice, or he just like played random music in final.
Since we're talking about all the people who have been put in jail for match fixing, save your life. Here's another one for you. A story about life. So you know what? It may have been that same IEM San Jose that we met at. Let me check real quick.
14?
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
It was one of the IEM San Jose's. Let me just look it up.
It's when he won BlizzCon or something.
No, it was the one where he won IEM San Jose.
Oh, they had StarCraft at this tournament as well.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
He was there.
It was literally the same event. It was literally, so this is actually a hilarious story about the same event for StarCraft. Life was insanely hungover when he won that event. Like he was like dying, and he was hungover to fuck, and then he ended up actually winning that final.
Beating the final.
No, wait. It was the one he won. Hold on. It was the one he won. I don't think he was at 2014. Actually,
was the one the next year?
It may have been the one the next year. But it was one of those events where he was just like, it was like mega hungover. Maybe it was BlizzCon, actually. I'm mixing it up
one time.
But he did win one event that I was at where he was like incredibly hungover. So yes, the same thing. Zerg match fixers apparently are the ones who party hard.
Yeah, I mean, like if you are actually so much better than the opponent, I think you can get hungover. Like if like some people give me like so many drink and then ask me, "Hey, Ole, go to play against like platinum player." Well, I think I'll be fine. Just like or I can just like still outplay them. But it's like I think that should be. But before the hungover day, he should put a lot of effort or understanding the meta or whatever. I don't think that gonna be just happen just like. Because he's so genius,
Anyway, I'm sure we could talk about drunk
Let's
Zerg
get into
players
LCS
all day, but we can talk about LCS as well.
I've got a question for you, because one of the main topics, Ole, that's basically overshadowed this split of LCS was the whole drama with LS and Cloud9, because everyone wanted to see, LS before was a guy whose ideas were very theoretical, and people wanted to see what happens when you try it in a real server. Like, if you actually had good players, like people like Summit are obviously very good. If he had players like that, what would happen if he put his philosophy into the game, right? Everyone knows, obviously, he only lasted like 2 weeks and then he was out. But I saw he made a very interesting comment the other day where when Cloud9 played Team Liquid, even though in the end Cloud9 did win the game, I actually saw that LS said he hoped they would lose the game. And it wasn't, by the way, because he's salty because they kicked him over. He actually had a very interesting point. He said basically that whereas when he was coaching them, you notice he was going for like a very like innovative approach with like unique comps no one's seen, or people even first timing champions on stage so you can't prepare for them. He said now, like Cloud9 basically is just more of like a normal team. Like you see it, like Summit just plays the strongest champions. That's it. He doesn't try to like trick you. He just plays what he thinks he's strongest at. In fact, in general, the team seems to have gone more to that. So I think his logic, which was a very big topic always in LCS, was the problem sometimes in LCS is people will do simple things in LCS because the first step to get to Worlds is you got to win LCS, right? Or come top team. So the problem is they put too much of the year into like simple things like that. And then you go to Worlds, but at Worlds, if you haven't like pioneered a unique, was what he was getting. I want to know what you think about this topic. Like, is LCS, do they play too standard? What do you think about this topic?
Okay, I'm not sure how other teams are doing second or third block, but I'm pretty sure.
C9 does other blocks probably one of the reasons why C9 doesn't play a lot of Champions Queue is because they scrim their
academy team second.
Their academy team.
Yeah, I think screen block actually really matters because I think HK like one day the Africa Freaks randomly start to like triple block because their head coach was a striker player.
Yeah, exactly.
So like,
they also have your former coach on Liquid, Kane.
Yeah. So I think they're just like spamming screen block. But like so in LCS let's say besides except C9, 9 teams are doing like one block. You only play 5 games, and then you can only be blue side 3 times or 2 times. So every game, the ban and the picks will be kind of similar, unless you just like open everything. Like, but people gonna ban same thing on Purple side. Like before was Jerry, Jinx, or like Gwen or something. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna have same first pick. Like you're gonna first pick Ryze, you're gonna first pick Hecarim. It's gonna be all same. But what C9 LS actually approach is like the draft are always same. So people are gonna do same draft over and over. So I think I don't know him, but I guess he saw this. What if we just randomly pull over random shit? Like, did they ever practice against Soraka mid? Did they ever practice against fucking Ivern mid? No, I don't think so. But it's like the good thing about how LS did was like only C9 gonna have experience with the Soraka mid before the stage game. Yep. And then when we play against them, it's like even though we are winning early game, at some point we threw once, but when game was kind of 50-50, we have no idea how to actually slaughter their team fight, like how to win them. It's like Gwen with the like I don't know, that was Ivern or Soraka mid. Like really hard to kill them. If we don't one shot them, we just lose anyway. So I think how LS approach, I think I kind of understand. I agree with it at some point, but it's like clearly see the LS pick up the one of the best laner in Korea.
Of course, yeah.
And when I was in Korea, so like the Berserker, I met him every like really many games. Like he was always around 1000 RP in Korea solo queue. He was doing always good. So when I heard they are getting these 2 people, I knew they're gonna just like stomp like anyway whatever they picked. Like before I fly to North America, I met Berserker in my team, and then enemy first pick Kai'Sa. I just blind Bard, and then what Berserker did was he just picked Soraka AD, and I was like, what the fuck? Okay, let's fucking do it. And then we win 2v2 with the Soraka Bard, and then he solo kill Kai'Sa in Challenger game, and I was like, wow, this guy gonna just smurf in North America anyway. So it doesn't matter what they pick actually. I think the LS whatever draft, I think because he pick up the really good player, they're gonna win. But now it's like, there's no LS. They got the just like basic head coach. They're gonna do normal draft. They're gonna win because it's just a player gap, I feel like. So yeah.
Every top lane I see, it's a fucking player gap, mate.
Yeah. I mean
it's just smurfing.
Yeah, it's gonna work because but it's like it's kinda so at some point I don't know, it's like when the Oceania turns to be the not import anymore.
Yes.
It's like people are picking up lots of the OCR people, right?
Yeah.
And then I think I checked the Leaguepedia. It's like there are less and less Korean people, and I think it's kind of like it's like symptom. I don't know why this happened. Yeah, but it's like I think the Core JJ Impact doing well. And then I think Igna was also doing well. It's like I don't know why Korean getting less pickup. I think I will
say, like one obvious point would be one, they are Australian, they speak English already, and then 2, I'm going to go ahead and guess like Isla is cheaper to pay than fucking Igna. If I had to guess, I imagine Igwa wants a little bit of money. Seems like a swag kind of guy.
Here's the thing. So it's like they pick up the Berserker and Wisdom, but they were not in HK. They were actually HK challengers, right? But it's like they are just they were not playing HK because they were. Yeah, your AD is fucking Gumayushi. Yeah. You are not gonna take his spot. But like, you are just below Gumayoshi. That doesn't mean you are bad. That means you are actually good. But because you're you're like you have to against Gumayoshi,
Yeah.
and that's why you don't play HK. And then I think C9 the pick up way was smart. Okay, we cannot get Gumayoshi. So what's the best after? Oh, there's second team. Okay, let's pick up this guy, and then working. Like I think it's like the challengers team actually doing really well. I feel like Winsome and Berserker they're doing well, and the Summit. I think Summit is the only case he's just playing HK and they come to NA. I think I don't know if he's gonna be super expensive or not, but it's actually working.
I'm
So-
so shocked.
I am just going to say, Ole, how are you going to criticise Oceanic Import? You play with one in your lane. Lost is from Australia.
Yeah.
Watch out. You accidentally slammed your own mate. He plays in your lane, dude.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, it's like I think the HST should look for. It's like I'm not like HST should also keep up the North America talent,
Yeah.
but it's like, but still, it's like when you look for import, it's not even I'm Korean. I feel like if you are picking up the Korean people, it'd be more competitive. I feel like because it's like at least they're gonna spam the game. I don't know actually, but I think they have really hard work ethic, and then it's like they're just like basic attitude towards the game. Maybe
Question,
really-
Ole, because one thing that is a concern, because I've had friends who are owners of LCS teams who ask similar question, like, should I get this like big name guy from Korea or this up and coming player? And one thing that's always a concern, I know, is they worry that when the Korean player goes to the LCS, like he might get lonely, or he might like feel like the world's too different from Korea and Seoul, or he's not watching. I mean, I guess he can still watch the TV shows, but he can't be part of culture in the same way, Like when you first came to the West, was that not an issue for you? Is that not kind of like a bit of a burden?
I think so. I am actually too different from the normal Koreans because as we first talk about, I was being in other country for years. So
Sure.
for me it was like I was like happily traveling. I was like really happy in
Right.
other country. But when I joined the IMT, that was the first time I was playing with the Korean. Actually, like I was playing with other Korean before, but like Flame was.
He's playing with
Korean.
Black Tea on Pain.
Yeah, Flame actually wanted to have a Korean person in his
Okay.
team because otherwise he's gonna feel lonely.
Well, of course, if people don't know, he doesn't have very strong English.
Yeah, so actually when I was in IMT, like Flame literally talked to me till like 5 a.m., 3 a.m. Like I had to listen to his same conversation over and over. I was like, oh yeah, and then sometimes I just like literally say, yeah.
Remember when I didn't win that final versus MVP when I should have won, right?
Yeah. Like literally, like, or sometimes he talk about some, his just normal life stuff. I just like listen till 5 a.m. I was sleeping. Like, oh yeah, what did you say? But because I was there, I think he told me it was fine for him. But I think that's why when I look at the C9 their video, it's like Fudge and Blubber try to learn some random Korean. They were like try to speak, make them feel comfortable, and I think they also have to hire Korean chef or something, make them feel really.
So
That's a very good idea, actually.
I talked to Jack about this, and so previously, there have been years where C9 had just Korean food all the time, and for the last couple of years they didn't do that. And then Jack told me this year that they were starting only Korean food again, Korean chef.
Oh my god, I'll be so happy. I will crying every morning. I'm like, oh, I can't eat Korean food. Oh.
You know what's funny? Ole, is like it's not even hard to find somebody in Los Angeles who can do that because there's my wife was GM of the London Spitfire Overwatch League team, and they were all Korean, and there are tons of these like ajumas that you can get who will just like be team house mom, and they'll just come to your house and make you fucking amazing food. I would go over there to eat all the time because it was so good, and then she was just so nice to all the players.
The streamer, all that shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's easy to do. You should just ask Golden Guardians.
No.
Also, most of even at least Jack has always told me, he's like, yeah, even even our like American players always just loved it. I mean, I would eat Korean food all the time. It doesn't matter to me.
If you're going to scrib all day, it's also very light food. It's not going to be all heavy like a burger and make you feel all weird. Like you're going to be able to keep going all day.
Yeah, I mean, like GGS used to have that in 2019, but I don't know what happened. They just like changed it. So we have to order every day from the whatever. But I don't know. It's just gone. So every day I have to eat the sandwich, burger, some salad, granola, or whatever. It's like I just look at food. I'm like.
I like how Olay's just low key throwing everyone at GGS under the bus. So we didn't even mention that he actually Licorice was like catching some strays earlier. Famous guy who like loves to take it easy, doesn't want to grind all the time. Then he's like throwing Lost under the bus. Now he's just throwing GGS management under the bus.
I mean, it's like I just follow the team. So I mean, like because. I don't want to against, it's like if there are 10 people or like 9 people want to do something and then I'm the only one want to do other thing, I gonna follow there, I'm not gonna be like, fuck yeah, give me Korean, give me Korean. No, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna, okay, sandwich, fine.
Exactly. Like a good support player, he just follows up. No matter, even if he knows it was doomed and you could never win this 2v2, we all know you have to follow your ADC up and you have to die with him. That's how a good support plays the game. We all know.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was in Team Liquid, there was so they hired the chef. I don't know if that was Mexican, but he was really nice to everyone, and he was kind of father for us. He cooked something. I look at food. It was like fully American stuff. And then I don't want to eat. I just like, okay, I'm gonna order other food. Bye-bye. And then just order some random Japanese or Korean food, and they eat a lot. So, yeah, I mean, like, if I don't like it, I should get it by myself. I do. But I'm not gonna ask them like change food, like kid.
I've got a question for you, Ole.
I appreciate, Ole, that you're one of the few pro players capable of taking care of yourself, because that's rare. Anyway, continue, Thor.
Have you ever heard of a concept? It's just like a fun idea for like a story where it's called the cursed monkey paw. Do you know this story? Do you know the premise?
No, what is that?
Oh, I'll give you the quick story. So there's a guy, and he's out in the middle of like, I don't know what country this would be, Saudi Arabia or something, somewhere in the Middle East, right? You imagine like 200 years ago this is. And he goes to a bazaar. That's basically their name for a market, like a street market where they're selling your like rugs and then like vases and little monkey guys there and stuff. And then he goes to this rare item dealer who has all these like relics and magical items, and he buys from him this monkey paw, and it's like he only listens to the first part of the description. The merchant tells him, like, if you buy this monkey paw, you get for each finger you get a wish, and the wish has to come true. And the problem is the guy's about to explain the rest of the conditions, but the guy just says deal, and he just throws the money at him. He takes the monkey paw, but what he doesn't know is the wish always comes true, but you don't know how it's going to come true. And that's why it's cursed, because you ask for something good, but it delivers it in a bad way. So here's what happens. A lot of people don't know this, but I actually happen to know you found one of these last year in the off season. And when you found it, you said, right, my only wish, because look, you never know how good a team is in LCS. I was on that team once that went 0-4. Then I was on Immortals that was in the finals. You can never know how good they are. So all I want is, since I know the history of LCS, I just want my mid laner to be better than Bjergsen. And the monkey paw, and it came true. Your mid lane was better than Bjergsen. It's not the best time to be better than Bjergsen. Blaze Olive's good this split though. Tell us about Blaze Olive.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's doing good. Like, also he has the Canadian, like, I don't know, the Canadian living in heaven or what. Like, they have really chillest vibe. They're always good to work with.
Right, that's cool. That's right.
Like, I don't know, like,
you're always apologizing,
Yeah, like Canadian people have like some, I don't know, like they have some weird aura. It's like it'll be some pink or yellow aura, something. It's like make you chill. It's like I don't know where they getting from. It's like, and then when you talk to some other country people, you don't feel it. It's like my team have Licorice and Ole from Canada.
Mhm.
It's like I don't know. They have a really chill feeling. Like one day,
Between an Australian, you must have the most chill team of all time.
yeah, I mean, okay, I tell you one story. I don't know. I can tell this, but so we were having a team dinner, and then I randomly bring up the topic. Will you ever hit your kid when you are a parent?
Okay, right. I'm just a bit nervous here, but it's okay. Let's see how the story progresses. Just saying, there's different cultures, but let's go. Come on, hit me with it.
So I randomly bring up the topic because in Korea, like I don't know nowadays, but when I was really like 10 years old, it's like if I make a mistake or like if I say something wrong or bad words, my father gonna just slam me with the sleeper or something. Okay, he gonna throw a cushion on my face or something. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm not gonna do this, you know? But
we all got spanked when we were kids, guys, okay?
Yeah. But I don't know nowadays people will do it. But I bring up this topic and I talked that time in front of me there was a licorice, my right was the olive. And they were like, Ole, you shouldn't hit your kid. Like even you cannot say like stuff like that, you know. And then I asked other people left side. They were like some Australian culture or whatever. Hey guys, will you ever hit your kid? They say, yeah, maybe. You know, they were like, agree with me. Like, not all of them, but like, you know, some person agree with me. And then I would ask Kennedy, they would say, hell no, 0%, they will never hit kids.
Sure.
And then I think this all tracks. This all tracks.
Yeah. By the way, if people don't know, this is even a thing that, like, yeah, it's definitely of that generation as well. Because I remember there's a famous video, you can go look it up. If anyone knows from StarCraft or CSGO, the famous, she's Korean American interviewer and presenter Smix. There's a clip of her that's so funny, Monty, where she's streaming. She's just streaming at home, and I think she's playing one of those games like, you know, like Alien Invasion or whatever. You know, those ones where it's like a jump scare game. And because she screams when she goes like, oh! Her mom was in the kitchen, and her mom runs out, doesn't know she's streaming, and just like slaps her on the arm, like. Dude, she was like a 28-year-old woman when she.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
This isn't when she was 12. Like this is like now. Like, you know.
It's like I think those people. I don't know. It's not all. I'm not gonna just say all Canadian, but like the Canadian pro player I ever work with, they were like really have some.
Yeah, they're pretty chill in general.
Yeah, really good vibe. Yeah.
But and we safely navigate that topic without ending any of our careers. So great. Well done. Okay.
Well, good job, everybody.
all I'm going to say is this. While on the one hand, Ole is killing this episode, this is definitely not in any way what the Golden Guardians PR guy thought this episode was going to be like. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say right now.
But, you know, the great thing about Blaze Olive is he's not chill in game. You know, to bridge this over. He plays like mega aggro in lane. Sometimes it works out super well for him. Sometimes he kind of runs it down. You know, he loves to have these kind of aggressive engages. He's certainly a very exciting player, and I think one that was underappreciated last year and is coming into his own as a mid laner now.
I mean, it's like when I work with Olive, I think the Canadian vibe sometimes really good. It's like, especially out of the game, it's pretty good. But also, meanwhile, in game, it can be bad. I'm not flaming, but okay. I don't know how to say it, but it's like he's really nice. So sometimes too nice, I feel like it's not good. So one day I was asking him, it's like, Olive, you're winning 1v1. Why don't you ask resource? Like, because he always try to like help team, he's a selfish player. He always want to help team. He want to do something for team. I think that's really good. But at some point, I want him to be selfish because I know he can do so much better. Like, especially when I play like in Korea solo queue, like Chobi literally ping me. Like when he goes side, he just ping me like, "Hey, get this vision," and I want a 1v3, something like that. I think Olive.
You want Yomi to do this.
Yeah, he is able to do it. He's a really great player. But I think because he's too nice, he doesn't do it. So that's why I want to talk to Olive. Like, you know, I don't know, he's watching it, but I think one day if he is actually turns to be a bit selfish, I think on the stage he's gonna really popping off. I think that's what we are kind of missing from Olive. But I really like how he like talk to people after, sometimes we lost in scrim, but he still have a really good, voice, and then always like look. Actually, I don't know. It's like whenever some people talk to each other, he literally look at other people. I think that's a good habit. But
Like
in
in the
Korea,
eye.
yeah, that's really good habit. But like, it's really sometimes Monty, in Korea, if you look at older people, it's kind of bad in Korea,
Yeah.
I just do it anyway to assert my dominance. All right.
Yeah, but it's like
You feel uncomfortable a little bit.
but like Olive is
Okay.
really like kind of like look at the people and they really care about listening to them.
Okay.
But and then I look at him
But
and
you're
oh my
scared to
god,
look at the alpha, obviously. Yeah, we understand. Basic animal psychology.
yeah, he's a really nice player. I think like if I'm head coach one day, or if I'm coach one day, I think he will be on my list. Like, because really
Okay.
easy to work with and then nice to work with. Yeah.
So I think we should probably talk about how this team got formed first before we go into. I know you probably don't want to talk about like the 100 Thieves game, but we should probably talk.
Yeah, we should talk. I'm about to talk about it.
But like Golden Guardians as an organization, they tend to rely a lot on their scouting and kind of putting together synergistic rosters. We've seen them pull a bunch of players that became 100 Thieves that nobody else was really looking at, but they put together a roster that the core of which became a championship roster on 100 Thieves after they made some changes. So their scouting has generally been pretty good. Now, last year might have been a bit of a down year because they didn't have a lot of money, and they definitely have more money this year. Like, for people who don't know, the COVID pandemic hit the Golden State Warriors, the NBA team, super hard because they, couldn't have a full season, couldn't sell tickets. So that kind of filtered down to Golden Guardians, where they had to kind of go for a budget roster. They ended up blowing most of that up and getting, veteran players like yourself and Licorice. And then also now they had a Blaze of all of last year, so he carries over. And then now they have Pride Stalker, who's a new player that's I think a very interesting jungler. Kind of unusual picks, like we've seen the Zed pick so far this season, but likes to play more aggressive, damage-oriented junglers overall.
Yeah.
And then Lost coming over from TSM. So they put together a roster that's been competitive this season. What was your process of joining the team like this year? Or rejoining, I should say.
I think, so me and Nick, actually, as a Korean, this is not serious, but this is kind of whatever talk. So before 2019, I used to not like Nick at very first time, like being honest. So because in Arrow, very first month, I didn't like it because I thought in kind of wrong way. But like end of the 2019, I realized actually he actually did nice things to me before. I think I got misunderstanding of him. So end of the 2019, we were like, oh my god, Nick, I'm sorry, I really misunderstood you. Oh my god, now I'm really sorry. So we just like hug each other, and then we became good friends. And I left the team, and then we were just like sometimes message each other casually. It's not like when we met at the party at one point, we just, oh my god, Nick, nice to meet you, long time no see. So we were just friends. And last year, he messaged me around when they are looking for a player. He just asked me, Ole, are you playing seriously or not? And then I'm trying to back, but I'm not sure I'm good enough to come back. And then I told him, like, if I don't get rank 10, I'm not gonna do it. And then
in
Korea. Yeah, he just messaged me on Twitter, and then at that time I was rank 80 or something. And then I asked him, "Hey, I'm just kind of stuck here. What should I do better?" And then he messaged me, "Oh, maybe you just try to group with your jungler more often because you always try to do it by yourself." So after I got his feedback, I started to more work with my jungler in Korea solo queue, and I started winning every game. And I really got rank 3 at some point. I'm like, oh my god, yeah, oh Nick, thank you. And then I feel like I can be pro player again. Like I'm shooting on every support here. I stopped. Like carrier was 13 continuous winning. I was the one who stopped his winning streak, and then I was like, oh my god, maybe I'm good enough. Maybe. It's like okay, then I'll go try again. So yeah, Nick. After I talked with Nick, the GJS gave me the offer. So I thankfully took it. But that time the jungle was the missing. He just showed me the list, the jungle, and I was like, yeah, just I follow the team. Like I'm not gonna have that much opinion. I just like follow my coach saying I'm gonna do my job. And then yeah, when I got here, I see the roster, and then yeah, I think it was pretty good on paper for me because everyone at least everyone picked a really good point at some point. So I thought it was good. But as I say, whenever I move to other country, my team always be the challenger team. It's not GGS like had the FBI Fuhi closer and they moved to 100 safe. They got number one before, But it's kind of the same thing as me. It's like when I moved to Pain Gaming, last place. When I moved to Hong Kong Esports, was last place. When I moved to GGS, it was kind of last place, right? Yeah. So my mindset right now is like our team is not like super team. Like when you look at Team Liquid, it's like they got Beeple, they got like Bjergsen, they got Hansama, who just like literally was in World Championship. They put together. Of course, if GGS like beat them 24/7, Team Liquid doing something wrong, So I of course want to win like versus like every team, but my mindset is like we can't just randomly be the number one team compared to really super team, as I say. But there were moments we could beat them. Like yesterday we should won. Like 2 days ago we should won the 11 or 12k gold lead against 100 Thieves, but we just lost. And I think our team aware of the problems, but it's not. I think individually we can say, Licorice, really good, Olive really good, and Price Stalker just like sometimes winning like 100 CS versus enemy jungler, and me and Lawrence, when we are actually in good position, we are actually carry the game. But I think the point is we are not a team.
Yeah, I mean your laning phase really hasn't been the core problem, right? Like, well, sometimes Ablaze Olive, like sometimes he just like wins lane hard and sometimes he loses lane hard.
Yeah.
So I think he's a bit wild in his aggression in the laning phase sometimes, which can work out for you or can get you put in the dumpster at times. I think if we're going to talk about the 100 Thieves game, there was a lot of focus, like obviously like the jokes around, I said this before you came on, but the people pointing out like nobody went top at 10 minutes.
Yeah,
there was basically, for 10 minutes, there was basically a continuous fight. 12 minutes. There was basically a continuous fight on the map during that entire 12-minute period, by the way. Like I was watching that part of the game again this morning.
Top of mid lane, right?
Yeah, it was like there's like in mid lane, around Baron, around Dragon, like there were these constant fights going on, and one person on each team would die and then respawn and then like rejoin the fight, right? So it was clear that you guys thought you could win that. And people, if I look at some of the core, like the key parts of that game, around the Dragon Soul fight as well, it looked like you guys had a split call, because what happened is Pride Stalker's on Nocturne in the Dragon Pit, and he smites the Lee Sin, like he uses Red Smite, and then Lost starts auto-attacking the Dragon at the same time, and I was like, oh no, because it's like, it seemed like Pride Stalker wanted to make sure that there couldn't be a smite steal by forcing the Lee Sin out and trying to get the kill, and Lost is like autoing the Dragon. So if Lost had been autoing the enemy team instead, that you guys probably would have just won that Dragon fight, and Lee had flashed out of the pit or whatever, or W'd out of the pit, and then you could have turned it around. So for me, when I watch your team, it looks like there are these like communication problems around what target to go on and when to engage that are causing most of the issues that you have. Is that fair?
That's exactly yes. It's like, I think I don't know, I can leak this, but okay, so it's really good to have opinion in every situation. Really good. But the worst decision in League of Legends is like doing the separate shit. I think that's the worst. But like at some point, it's like we have a 3 different opinions sometimes. Like sometimes 4 different opinions. So it's like one day in Scream we were winning like this, and then we somehow lost the game in Scream too. And then that time I kind of hands up. I hands up and I say, like, we just need to do one thing together. I think it was not me or it was also other people. Like literally one person hands up and then we have to do one thing, no matter what. Just do one thing together. But it didn't. But also what matters is, like as you say, the dragon fight, when the every single second matters what you do as a team, but it's like that time just the problem just reveals. It's like we are just on different page. So
well, I think what's crazy about that too, Ole, is like it was stolen by a Lee Sin Q. So even though the problem like was you guys splitting the call, you still should have gotten that dragon. And if you get the soul, I think you definitely win that game. So yeah, it was a really like it was played wrong. But even though it was played wrong, the outcome should have still been in your favor. But he fucking hits a Lee Sin Q with like 30 HP on the dragon. Yeah. So you know, it was partially a bad call and partially unlucky, but you know, you got punished really hard for it.
Yeah, I think that's our biggest problem. It's like, I don't know. It's like we like our macro sense is like actually really good. Like it's like whatever stuff happened in Scream, and then I listen to other like every player's opinion. The opinion is all good. You know, some people say, "Oh, we have to push top and redo something." Some people say we should push ball. Something. Everything's right. Maybe something is worse, something is better, but it's like every core was right, but we just don't do it together. So it's really, I think, kind of our coach have a kind of hard time just like make us as a team. It's like some weird shit happen, and then it's like sometimes we have an argument in game too. It's like, instead of just like doing one thing together, I don't know. That's why it's like sometimes I blame myself for it, because if I just like hands up, shut the fuck up, do this, maybe it's gonna work. I think, but yeah, so I can blame.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that the go-to solution is just autocracy. Like, I will now control all of this. Like, shut the fuck up, everyone do what I say. Like, I love it. I love that. That's
by the way,
agency go-to.
I'll give you a trick about Canadian people. Okay.
Okay.
So if you are in a game and you literally just tell Canadian people to shut the fuck up and listen to me, they will just apologize. They'll be like, "Oh, sorry," and then they'll just do it. That's actually what will happen. They won't even do anything. They'll say sorry to you. They'll be like, "I'm sorry." And you're like, "What are you apologizing for? Just fucking do it." That's actually, you can just mind control Canadian people.
It's even more insane than Ole knows, dude. I've just realised the other, like, think about his team, Monty, right? He has 2 Canadians, an Australian, and then the other guy's from the fucking Netherlands, another one of the chillest countries of all time. This is just like Team Hammock or something, mate. Like, I'll take a line from fucking a rap battle from years ago. If this team was any more laid back, they'd be horizontal. There you go.
So I think what we need is
I think it was Nils Skills or whatever the fuck. I can't remember. Might be Ron. We'll see.
I think we need a new Ole dictatorship within this team. That's exactly. You need to seize power, yes. Ole.
I mean, it's like I mean, for me, it's like in general, I didn't get just like rank 3 in Korea for free. You know, I really work hard and. Even champion queue, you know?
Right, all the stone. That's how you start the line. You go, look at Blazed Olive. I didn't get rank 3 in Korean solo queue. Where the fuck did you ever get? Exactly. Shut the fuck up. Rank 3 and now listen to what I'm saying, and then you give him. Then listen. He has to listen then.
Yeah, I think I can tell if there's my problem. I think I know what to do. I think. The player who get like high rank in solo queue or like even champion queue, it's like you just know what to do in every moment. It's like sometimes you should just back off, sometimes you just trade, sometimes you do. I think like you just like have better rate to do right thing in solo queue, so you win the game. So for me, it's like whatever happened in game, like I kind of see how to win at the moment, but it's like my problem is that I don't actually like exaggerate, like, hey guys, like do this, or hey guys, we have to do this right now. Like I'm
You
not
just
that
know in your
person.
mind what to do.
Yeah, like I just like put it in mind. Like I don't
Yeah,
actually cleanse it. I don't say out loud. I think that I can call it out. That was my problem.
Okay.
It's like I think that's what I have to work on, because so when I look at the Team Liquid interview, what people say like, oh, Core JJ is a cheat code. He just say like whatever,
Yes.
blah blah blah, and it's working. But like I see what should do, but I don't say it at the moment, and I think that's my problem. So
like you said earlier, you're more you see yourself as more of a follower.
yeah.
The only
so,
thing is, though, I will say, like, I hope you don't use those examples. Like, hey, Blaze, I just wanted to let you know when I'm playing with Chovy, normally he'll like ping me like, I'm not Chovy, am I? But all right, I'll give it a go. But fucking hell, Chovy's pretty good enough.
Instead of saying that, I should say like, hey, Olip, just fucking tell me what to do. Like, whoa, get water here. Then you're gonna carry the game, right? I'm gonna help you to carry the game.
Exactly.
What the fuck? Then,
Exactly.
I mean, I don't have that chat power in real life, I feel like.
No. So. By the way, no joke. I'll even give you a side point because it's a former teammate of yours. Like, when Doublelift was in Team Liquid, right? And no, sorry, not Team Liquid, TSM, a lot of fans used to actually say, no joke, like, he is one of the main shot callers. He is a very intelligent player. And I always used to think, no, you've missed the whole point. Doublelift isn't some, like, macro genius. But what he does understand, by the way, is if he's carrying the game, then he at least knows how to ask for what he needs in the game. Like, he knows how to tell you, like, right, we're going to rotate to the mid now and take that wave and then wait to fight the back. Like, but that can be useful in LCS if people aren't doing a good job shot calling. At least he, like, knows what to ask for, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think, okay, let me think about the Doublelift. So, Doublelift is like, actually, he's like, sometimes when he pees, it's like the whole air in the room is like freeze. He's just literally Nunu ult, just like freezing everything. and then it's like in game, it's like when he make a call, like I think everyone is kinda understand if he piss off, we're gonna lose this game. I don't know. Like there was one point for me. It's like I should not piss him off to win the game. So I was very focused. I was really focused. But sometimes I fail even TamKCW something. But
yeah,
I fail. But I really think
you wouldn't be the first Doublelift teammate to say if he's pissed off, you might lose the game and it might ruin the team. That's him. What he knows a few things about. Those are documentary ones, you know.
It's like when he actually to make a course, it's like kind of make everyone do one thing. Yes. That's his strength as a teammate. So he say, "Hey guys, I'm gonna push this wave. We're gonna do something with this wave. Let's do it." And then literally 5 people were like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna follow Doublelift," and then we just like do one thing together. I think that's how he won LCS like every time. And then, but when it comes to World Championship, or like compete to HK team, it's like they're just like better, I guess. It's like better team call or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. That was Doublelift's problem in a nutshell. His joke is like, right, guys, we should lose to these guys. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's not how it works, Doublelift. Like, what?
But yeah, I mean, so I think it's like the LCS is like you rather have a really great individual player and you just do one core together. Yes. It's like because LCS, people are making joke about just like sometimes fail flash, sometimes just miss the skill shot. There will be some random happen. Sometimes Kai'Sa don't use spell and just die, something like that. So it's like if the team, right, 5 people do one thing together, even though that's kind of mess up macro, so enemy can randomly die or randomly flash in, they just die.
Indeed.
So yeah. I think it's like but that should not be a goal to do just like random thing and they just win for just random shit.
Exactly.
But at least
the message to Americans out there is trust the plan.
Yeah.
Don't repeat that, Ole. That's a joke. That's off limits. That's my joke only. Don't worry about it. Keep going.
Yeah, but it's like in HK, there was a moment T1 actually kind of threw the game in Herald, but that time the caster saying is like carry a flash in and then everyone just follow no matter what, even though they all die. But that's the good symptom for good team, because they are ready to do one thing together. Even though I think caster what he actually said was like when carrier engage, I still understand. We have a strong side laner. We should not group every time. So that was what I was saying before. Like
Yeah.
Like Olive should be really strong voice. Like, hey guys, I'm gonna fucking carry 1v1. Just like don't group, just like
Yes.
like that's what I want from him in the future.
Yeah.
Then we don't need to group. We just like trust each other. They gonna kill side 1v1 or like Chobi he gonna 1v3 like the dragon fight against TL. It's like enemy should go to stop Olive instead of we try to do something to them. I feel like we were just like grouping and then make them just like comfort zone. We should make them uncomfortable. Rise push side 24/7. Now just like beat Sion face away.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, mistakes were made. But to be fair, Ole, I also didn't know that you couldn't win those team fights with a 10k gold advantage, right? I would have thought the same thing, which is why I think some of the conversations were rather unreasonable that were being held by fans, because you would think that with that kind of advantage, you could win a front-to-back team fight, but you can't, apparently.
Which, I mean, we could. I watched it again, but we could. It
was a lot harder.
Yeah, but we didn't have to. But we could.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Objectively, you should not have been doing that. But I also think you guys were trying to end the game. And I think that what my takeaway from this was that it's a very interesting. We were talking about Kai'Sa and these pick comps that like T1 is using a lot recently over the last few weeks. And, your composition was much more, I would say, similar to that, especially with Kai'Sa. So I wanted to get, because you play in the bot lane, I wanted to get your take on Kai'Sa right now, because Kai'Sa's been incredibly strong in pick compositions. We see most teams play it in the bottom lane. It's oftentimes a counter pick to Zeri lanes, because you can actually kill her in the late game while she's running around.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Kai'Sa pick and where she is in the meta?
Well, I mean, I think when we were playing Kai'Sa, I think we couldn't end the game. But also the build was not fully AP or fully AD. So it was kind of hybrid Kai'Sa, so we don't have that much like, if it was like fully AD, we could just all jump in together. If it was full AP, we could just poking out.
Yeah, so, and to be clear, this is because Lost went Kraken Slayer instead of Ludens.
Yeah, so it was, so I think that build also kind of we couldn't choose the direction to play, kinda. So, but it's like yesterday when we played against CLG, the Luger went to full AP Kai'Sa, and then whenever he threw the W, our team losing like half HP every time, and we couldn't just like touch them at all. So, I don't know. I feel like the Kai'Sa now is really cheat champion. It's like, especially the W Kai'Sa. I don't know, like. Because the Kai'Sa can actually jump into the team fight, or he can just poke forever. So I don't know. I think if Kai'Sa player is actually doing okay, there's no way to counter this champion, because you can either go poke team or you go in fighter. But like Kai'Sa in team fight is actually good. But if you wanna also engage, Kai'Sa gonna run away and just W forever. Yes. And then like as a mage support, if you get 2 Kai'Sa W, you die. Like you literally just die. So, and then the CD down is so crazy. I don't know. This champion should get nerfed. I really think this champion is so broken.
So why, if you think Kai'Sa is this good, then why were teams so focused on other champions in the bot lane previously?
I think it's the now people try to figure out what's the good, because Jerry used to be banned forever.
Yeah.
So in our head, it's like, oh, Jerry is the best pick ever. But also, Jerry has really good win rate. But I think CLG, Saturday, they play against FlyQuest, and then they pick Kai'Sa into Jerry. They got really good success. And then I think they are the team like figure out earlier than other team. Maybe Kai'Sa is so much better than Jerry. I don't know. It's their thinking, but. And then they got success 2 times in a row. Like they open Jerry and they just pick Kai'Sa into it. They won 2 times. So I think LCS is like who figure out the shit first. I think.
It's been interesting watching some of the LCK games, because as we discussed earlier, T1 is basically like playing roaming mid pick comps now.
Yeah.
And what's funny to me is that if you actually look at the pick and ban in LCK, basically this started kind of with KT, the KT T1 game, where KT almost beat T1. Like those were actually very close games.
Yeah.
And I think what happened, because it was Vikla who came in and was playing Ahri, and they were playing Kai'Sa in the bot lane, right? And I think what happened was that KT like kind of revealed in certain ways like how good some of these Ahri comps could be and these champions could be. Because I think because remember, KT has had a really bad second round robin. Like they've been really dog shit. Yeah. And it was a surprisingly close game. So I think what happened is, first off, it was Vikla like playing better than Ahri on mid lane, right? But I think part of it was T1 being like, these guys suck, and they almost beat us with this like style of composition, because then they've just been playing it basically nonstop ever since that series. So it's been really funny to me. Like they kind of like, why the fuck did we almost lose to KT? And then they're like, oh, we'll just do it ourselves and just stomp everybody.
Yeah, they just like realized, oh, it was like T1 think we have an insane player gap, but the game goes like this, maybe champion gap. What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Then I watched our game. You know, it's like usually people pick Rek'Sai into Lee Sin to counter. And then CLG against us, we had the Lee Sin, but they had the Rek'Sai, and then they had the Ahri, and then Kai'Sa Nautilus, which is like the KT had the best comp against T1.
Yep.
And then actually in game, we felt like we have nothing to do with it. Like literally, Kai'Sa poke forever.
Yeah.
As a Renata, I cannot engage on Kai'Sa forever.
Do you like how like Rek'Sai will just hit you with Q, and then Kai'Sa will hit you with W, and then Rek'Sai just ults and you die?
Yeah, like I'm just it's like I have a W on Renata still, but it's useless. I just die and then die again. I die 2 times, like more miserable.
Yeah. So yeah, it has been funny to watch like T1 just basically transform after that KT series, because they were playing a different. They won the series, but it was much closer than people anticipated, and then they basically just swapped to, you know, playing Kai'Sa all the time. You know, Faker on Ahri, Galio, like these, or even Kai'Sa himself, these champions.
Yeah. By the way, did you see why why Faker picked Kai'Sa?
Against LeBlanc?
What was the reason?
Did you see the reason?
What was the reason?
What did he say?
He played against the T1 KT, and then the aiming failed the RW combo, and the Faker thought he could do better, so he started to play Kai'Sa mid. That was the reason.
Fair play.
That's what to say.
Same logic, Monty. He was like, if that guy can do it, fuck it. Pass it here. And then he's just amazing.
By the way, Kai'Sa was Faker's 71st champion that he's played at the professional level, which, by the way, is almost half the champions in League of Legends, which is just fucking insane.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I think Kai'Sa will get banned next week, I guess, or first pick couple.
You think the meta is going to shift that much? It's just weird that we're seeing this big shift with a champion that was like always available, and everyone was so focused on like Jinx, Zeri, Caitlyn.
By the way, Monty, I don't think I've discussed it on the show. I think I talked about it on the show with Dom. Did you see that hilarious fucking quote in that interview with Deft, where he, you know, in his entire career, he's some absurd win rate, like 92% on Jinx. And this was the fucking headline for the interview. He goes like, since I am only 92%, it's not that good. Like, what are you? It can't be 100%, Def. Like, we're talking about your whole career, bro. You won 92% of the games. And also, he did only play in the 2 best regions ever his whole career. That's pretty insane. But like, that's just Korean mentality. People don't get it. Like, people don't know the joke. The joke is in Korea, you come home and you say, what the mum says, what score did you get? And you say, I got an A-. And then they go, why not A+? Like that is,
and then you get hit with the slipper.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like we have a culture like we don't care about the other people than the rank 1. Like we don't care.
Exactly.
It's like, oh hey Ole, what is your rank? Oh, I'm rank 3. Get the fuck out of here. You know, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I only care about the rank 1. It's like the Yeona Kim in Korea, the figure skater. She got famous because she got number 1. Like that's all. Like if she was like just around rank 3-ish, like people not gonna care. But like she got number 1 compared to other like Japanese one, and they're like, oh, rank 1, yeah. So we care about the rank 1 only. I think that's the culture for Korean.
It's
Indeed.
probably a fair assessment. Fair assessment.
Yeah.
So in terms of playing bot lane right now, a lot of people are talking about how bot lane is so strong. Obviously, we see a lot of these games that go very late and the AD carry becomes incredibly powerful. It must be fun for you as a support player because there are a lot of engaged supports right now that are in the meta.
Yeah.
How much effect do you think bot lane has on the overall game at this point in time compared to other metas?
I think the reason is the AD missing item. I really think. Because it's like the Jinx Aphelios, the 50-50 matchup, right? It's like whoever get first turret, get Gale Force first.
Yep.
And then when you, like, sometime your support go to mid, right? So AD stay bot 1v1. If one person has a Gale Force, if you ever try to hit minion, you die. And the game is unplayable for the another AD, right? So it's like the reason why the bot turret matters is like AD get first missing item and they just snowball forever. Like let's say you crush bot turret, you have a 1k gold lead. So you got 1k on AD carry. AD Jinx or Aphelios, whatever AD carry, got the first core item. He goes top again. Do same thing. If AD doesn't match, you lose turret for free again. So you don't have missing item, you go top again against Gale Force. If you ever try to hit minion, you die. So you have to cry for your teammate. Hey guys, if you guys not here, I cannot get CS. Please. So it's forcing everyone to come to top in losing situation. So the Gale Force was saying like, hey guys, I can do 1v3. I have a Gale Force. Ha ha ha. You guys do whatever you want. So why enemy, people are top side, Gale Force AD carry just do whatever he want. And then it's over again. You crush top turret again, getting headed. So before 50 minutes, game is just over because the one missing item. So I think good team knows, like I think SKT or whatever, like every team understand how important the first bot turret matters. So that's why it's like they mid jungle pick matters because even though you have a shitty bot your matchup, if you're mid jungle winning, they're gonna dive you no matter what. Like 4v2 bot, how you gonna answer it? And then once you get dove, crush bot turret, same thing. The logic is simple. Just like give money to AD, make a snowball. If you're a good team, you know how to end. That's it. Yeah.
You make it sound so easy.
You and ironically just roasted the entire LCS drive. He doesn't even know it.
Our Golden Guardians problem is that we know this sequence, but we don't know how to finish the game. So that's the problem for us.
Of course.
Yeah, so that's why we are reading like at some point like keyboard every time, but we just have no idea how to finish it. That's it.
I mean, you're ostensibly you're going to be a playoff team this year. You've had some good weeks. You've had some good weeks overall, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was reading the Reddit comments. One was the like Golden.
That was
Guardians.
Your first mistake. Okay. Continue.
Yeah, but that was I was reading it. So Golden Guardians can beat any team, but also can lose to any team. So, they were like, oh yeah. I mean, it's like when I look at the team kit, it's like they are really consistently, stable. I think that's how you call strong team. I think, but I think our team is missing their part. Also, I want to blame myself for it because sometimes I just look for just engage instead of just like controlling and then winning in a safe way. So yeah, I think that's what our team should work on to be like consistent.
I want to congratulate you.
By the way, just a quick question. Assuming Golden Guardians are not the winner, I'll just be polite and say that all there. Don't worry, I won't fucking say anyone else. They're definitely not winning, but okay. Let's pretend they can't win. Who would you pick? Would it be Cloud9 or Team Liquid? Who wins LCS in your opinion?
I think when I play against like both team, I see C9 was harder. Like I don't know. Against C9, I felt more pressure play against them. It's like they really, I don't know. Like it's not like individually they're strong. I mean, like I don't know about the Summit, but Summit actually crushing the top. So I feel like against C9, if you are not winning top, it's like you lose. Like it's like kind of poison. You lose slowly. You are dying slowly. It's like smooth, and it's just like, oh, I lost. Something like that.
I think when you say Team Liquid is stable, you are the first person ever to describe a team with Bwipo on it as stable.
I mean, it's like I think it's more likely their support jungler stabilize the game.
Right.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
people play really aggressive and then try to do something, but it's like, yesterday the C9 game, the C9 was winning 4K gold, but tier was slowly coming back. So at some point, the 4K gold was just zero.
Yeah.
Because their support jungler controlling map slowly, and they know I think they had a better macro sense, but somehow people just jump into pink ward and they just randomly throw the game. But I think
did happen.
Tier had a really good sense of the macro and they're slowing the game, especially on stage.
By the way, low key, even though I'm pretty sure he didn't do this intentionally thematically, Monty, Summit has low key backdoored one of the most OP names ever as a gamer. Because he's already a top laner, and then I'm Summit, so I'm the top of the top, aren't I? I am the apex, is the way. That's actually low key genius marketing if you know what he's doing with that. That's fire.
By the way, I can't believe that he came to NA. We've never really discussed that, but he is still way better than most Korean tops.
He's overqualified as fuck. Yeah, exactly.
Why is he not on Gen G? You know what I mean? Like, why the fuck is he just randomly on Cloud9?
Why not Damwon?
Why not? He could be on Damwon, dude, for sure. If you look at the guy there,
sure, he could literally be an upgrade on any of the top three teams, top laners. And I know people like Zeus, but he's fucking better than Zeus.
He could easily be on that team. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, let's see Summit 2 years later. I mean, that's
got to him. After NA's point hooks into him, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's like for like. From SK or especially if you're from Korea, it's like every day you have so much pressure. It's like, oh, I thought I was better than this guy. Next day, this guy just stomped me in solo queue. And then you have to actually deal with it. But like in NA, like now, somebody is like, haha, people free win. Haha, Licorice free win. Haha, NA top free win. Haha, And 2 years later, I want to see is somebody gonna still be that top, because it's also about the environment. It's like I think C9 gonna try to keep good environment for focusing and then make them really passionate for it, or 2 years later it's like he turns to be like whatever NA top
becomes someday.
I mean, someday.
Something
from Summit to someday.
There's like a dagger into your heart, boys. Look, fair, at least after all those years of carrying, he just got carried to a title. Fair enough. That's called alchemical transmission. Equal exchange or whatever, isn't it? No, the only thing is, what I'm looking for with Summit is this. Unironically, I want to see how he also does in terms of being coached in NA over the years. Because I saw a very interesting thing where someone said, like a quote from when Yamato Cannon, the now coach of Fnatic, when he was coaching Sandbox a couple of years ago, and obviously Summit was his top laner, right? And supposedly he said, if you tell Summit, like, try this like new champion pick or whatever, or this is the response he would say, and this is a nightmare if you're a coach. He would go, well, Khan and Deshai don't play it, so why don't they play it? Which is like, oh god, we're not getting into this, are we? Like, it's a good pick, because the problem with that mentality is you're never first there. You're always just copying what the other guy does. So yeah, true. If you're the absolute best, look, you're going to stop, and also you're an LCS. But like, I want to see down the line, because to me, that's a bit of like a bit of a stubborn mentality, I think.
I mean, it's like I had the same issue before. Especially there's one story about the Yuumi. So Yuumi just came out. I was really confident to shit on Yuumi playing Thresh at that time, but Yuumi didn't have if you if you got CC, now it's like you cannot back away,
Yes.
But that time you could just back away. Like there was no any CD. So that time I was really stubborn, especially that time Nick Smith telling me like, hey, Yuumi is so broken, like you should play. I'm like, no, I can shit on him. Like just give me stress, And I just tried like 10 games in a row. I lost to every matchup. It's like, and then I realized, oh my god, this champion is so broken. Okay, I'm gonna play tomorrow. And I play Yuumi, feel like it's most broken at the moment. And I was like, after I realized, hey, just first pick me Yuumi, I'm gonna carry. So I think
I mean,
I think that
Carrie,
was
you are playing Yumi.
that was Carry. No. At that time it was Carry.
Maybe, I don't know about Carrie, but...
No, it was Carry. Like I go loot it, I just say, kill. Everyone just died. So,
you actually built like a fucking air force.
Yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
yeah. So, but I think that's
Holy
also kind of, I don't know, that's stubborn or kind of boomer mindset as a pro player. I can call it, it was boomer mindset. Because when something new happen, I should be really open-minded. You know, it's like, okay, let's try a new thing. I used to be the one. It's like, in Korea, it's like when no one was using Karma and Nami, I was the only challenger player in Korea playing Nami and Karma. And then I got 3 challenger at some point, and I was the only player Nami, and I was shooting on everyone, even pro player. And then at the time, the Samsung Blue, Samsung white and blue, so Mata and Heart, they both reached.
The Nami off you.
Yeah, they
Nami was
messaged me.
very famous for Heart. If people don't know, he was mega on it. Yeah.
They messaged me and they, hey, what's your rune? How you play? So that time, people never go the damage rune for like support. So
Nice.
I go to AD rune on Nami and the or AP never go armor or shit. So they copy me and they just literally copy how I play laning page. So and then 2 weeks later, I saw them playing Nami in HK. Like Samsung Blue picked Nami and then Mata also picked Nami. I was like, holy shit! Like my stuff just going to HK. So I used to be the one try to build new stuff, but now I like, you know, after years I look at myself, I turn to be boomer. It's like I don't try to make a new shit. It's like even in Taiwan, like I just like literally calculate like gold efficiency. Oh, look at if I buy look at first item. Oh, this is most efficiency, so I'm gonna buy this item instead of shoes. You know, I really study hard to like win slightly. But now what I what I doing is like I just watch YouTube video or just like some comment about the item build. They say this is good. Maybe I'm gonna do it instead of just like try to study by myself. So I try to throw this boomer mindset, but it's a bit hard. I don't know. I feel like I'm so boomer now.
We all feel that way.
Yeah. But I'm trying not to be. I try to be like young mind.
To be fair though, that like you are right, it is always the newer players. Like if everyone remembers, it was people like Lehens, Carrier who were coming in with all those like crazy new picks for the support position. Like they had some bangers back in there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like it was kind of crazy that, you know, I was like when Carrier was winning with the echo support like 30 minutes, I was like I actually lost one game first against him. I picked Thresh into it. And then I realized I cannot kill echo support as a Thresh because he was just like shoop, move, and the W and the run away and ult away. Like I cannot catch this champion. And then next game I pick Bard into it and I just win somehow. And then but it's like this guy really picked something new to like shitting on everyone in solo queue. And then I'm just still picking the champion I'm comfortable with. That was really a whole different story. Right? This guy just trying new thing and winning every game. I'm picking my favorite and comfortable picks and then just go like okay win rate. This is unreal for me at the time. So yeah, that really made me think about myself. It's like it's like, oh, this is the actually gap between me and him. You know? It's like I'm not gonna be like picking random shit to win 13 games in a row. I'm not gonna do it. But it's like he just do it. So I think that's the young blood and boomer difference, I guess.
It's a boomer diff. That's the problem. It's a boomer diff. That's exactly. It's age gap. Literally, we're back to age gap again, all the way around.
Yeah.
What's your take on Carrier's Zac support against the Fredit Breon challenger team?
Yeah,
I mean, legit pick or troll?
So was he trolling with that?
No, in Korea there was a one trick Jack player called Yoshi Pokun. Like there's a one Korean guy. He literally playing Jack forever. So he's like challenger. Like I met him every game. Like if I play from the morning, he is always there. So yeah, I play against him. But sometime when he got off floor, he plays support Jack, and then actually it was good. It was good. I'm pretty sure Carrier playing against his Jack too. So and then sometimes it was really working because the Q minion and the flash auto champion and then you just combo one shot. I died to that many times. So I saw it was working. It was good, but I didn't actually try it out. That's the me and Carrier difference. Carrier actually try when he got die, you know.
I like how Carrier will do it when they're up 1-0 against a entire challenger team. Substitute
time
team.
to do it.
He's like, well, time to bust out this.
Exactly.
I mean, it's true though, because especially we're only one regular season week left. So if you're going to do it, you might as well do it now. So teams, when they go into playoffs, have to think about you maybe playing Zach because they've now seen it. It's
hover it.
Yeah.
At least hover it in the draft and playoffs, please. Just once. Hover once.
I mean, there was a Shinji the support from Lians.
Yes,
Any other final thoughts on? We should probably do some LCS playoff predictions because you guys only have a couple of weeks of play left. It seems like most people think like Cloud9 or Team Liquid are going to be the strongest teams going in, and for me, it's a bit of a hard read because Team Liquid seems more like they have, I would say, better fundamentals.
Yeah.
The thing about Cloud9 is their individual player capacity. And what's different about Cloud9, this iteration of Cloud9, is that Blabber's like, he can win you games and then sometimes he will just randomly die, right? You live or die by Blabber a lot of the time. And when they had either Nisqy or Perkz, right? Perkz at least provided, I would say, a little bit more of the kind of veteran carry potential. Nisqy was basically helping out with Blabber. But they haven't had the same kind of top laner because while Fudge did very well, he's probably the best player internationally when C9 was competing. Summit is obviously on another level even than that. And while we might say Fudge is a learning mid laner, he's playing a more supportive, I would say, mid style. It feels like if Blabber has a bad game, other people can pick up the slack. And, if Summit has a bad game, like we saw his Gwen game was a little bit rough, right? But, other players can pop off on this roster. So this is the first iteration of C9 where I felt confident that one good player can have a questionable game, but the other good players on the roster will just hard carry, which wasn't even true necessarily in the Perkz era either, right? So it feels like this is a team that can legitimately take the title when a lot of people were saying, oh, well, Team Liquid with Core JJ back is definitely the best team in this league, especially with LS and kind of his bag of tricks not really there to help out C9 anymore.
I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like, for me, it's like when I look at C9 player, it's like, sometimes my calculation for the team is like, sometimes I just try to think about how LP they are in Korean solo queue. Because, in Korean solo queue, it's the funny thing is that people are doing right stuff at the moment. So it's like, let's say you, like 5 players are 1000 LP, and then against like 600 LP. These five 1000 LP people are gonna shit on this like 600 for sure. Like literally, the combined LP, like if you have like 200 LP more, you're gonna win. I don't know why that happened, but it's like literally this happened every game in Korea. So when I look at the C9, it's like Summit and Berserker. It's like they are like really top high rank. It's like let's say more than 1000 LP. And then when I was in Korea, the Winston was like 700-ish. It was 700. I think Blabber also got challenger at some point. I think Fudge, I don't know about him. It's like, let's say I put him like 500 Grandmaster. But when you look at Team Liquid, I'm not sure. It's like Team Liquid in Korea solo queue gonna be that much really high, like C9. It's like I think they still gonna get challenger, but not higher as the C9. So I feel like if Team Liquid combined LP is like 4,000, I feel like C9 is like 5,000. So it's gonna be something happen, but like in the end, I think C9 gonna win by team fight or some random stuff. I think they just like individually better. That's what I think, because it's like Berserker, I don't know how he communicate, but like I watch his game, he just do the right thing in team fight. It's like you're gonna expect Berserker gonna fully damage in, you're not gonna be like, oh, this guy gonna just like run away for just to be safe or something. Berserker gonna fully in, gonna just flash in, gonna killing people. And I think that's what I think. It's like Sami gonna try to, even though he's losing, like let's say he's losing top 1v1, he gonna still try to outplay. It's like that's kind of really different feeling from other players. It's like, let's say NA top, if they are losing slightly, losing 400 gold, they're gonna play really like safe. But Sami will just like try to win the game to like by dodging skill and then hit one more. It's something like that. So I think in Korean solo queue that happens a lot. It's like sometimes when you watch Gumayoshi's stream, they lost first portrait, but Gumayoshi randomly outplay 1v3 or 2v4, and then the game just come back. But if you don't actually try that type of play, how are you gonna come back? So I think good player always down to take the fight, even though they are losing gold. But I think what I got from any players is like when they are losing even like 1k gold doesn't do anything. It's like 3 long sword. Maybe missing item may be different, but like if you just one shot enemy carries, you just win. Like the gold, like 10k gold, 20k gold doesn't matter if you have a good team fight. But I think C9 is more willing to take a fight because I think that's how they think about game.
I think it's also all the players on that team have that mentality 100%.
Yeah, it's like why. So I kind of question myself. It's like why you're doing good macro. Why you try to crush bot right? Why you try to do it? Because you want to have more gold for a better team fight. But what's the point you are losing when you have more gold? Like, so why you're doing even good macro? You're gonna still lose 5v5. I think it's like League of Legends. It's like sometimes you're gonna win by macro, but I think how League of Legends changed the game is like they are putting everyone is a 5v5 situation. Like Dragon matters, Battle matters, so you guys have to take the fight, and then if you have a good players, you're gonna win, even though you're losing 20k gold at some point. Okay. Yeah, so
what they need to implement is, that game Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that quiz show. Well, famously, they have a system. It's a show where you try to win $1 million by answering these hard questions, right? And there's 4 options for each question. And famously, there's this concept where there's these 3 lifelines you get, which are like little bonuses you can use when you don't know the answer to the question, right? So obviously, if they had this in LCS, with you, they could use phone a friend before the team fight starts. Then you would go 2k behind, it's easy. You just one-shot the carries, and then you win. And they're like, oh, interesting. Obviously, you can't use Ask the Audience, because it's the LCS audience, and sometimes it's not even there. And then the last option is just Blabber's option. It's 50-50, isn't it?
Like, if you're losing, you
always wait for the punchline. Always wait for it. You never know how the punchline's going to change.
I didn't know where I was going.
Always wait. Always wait. Yeah. It's always wait. Spoiler, I work my way back from the punchline, obviously. Right, okay, I think that's it then.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Ole.
Thanks
We're going to answer some fan questions, so we'll let you have a lovely afternoon. We appreciate your time very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, we're going to do the viewer questions now. So as usual, I'll hand it to Monty, where he will curate the questions that will be asked.
If you would like to ask questions, GrogCoin 25 holders can do it. Go to the GrogCoin channel on the Inside on Esports Discord, and there will be a pinned post that tells you how you can become a proud GrogCoin holder, and then we will probably, not definitely, but probably answer your questions on the shows.
By the way, the joke is, because I'm pretty sure after that last 4 Horsemen episode, I was thinking about this. If we ever stop caring about esports, well, as long as you keep having the GrogCoins, we'll probably just keep doing shows to make it only questions, because to be fair, I'm pretty sure me, Monty, and Richard Lewis just answering random questions. That's like a 2-hour show right there, isn't it?
Yeah. We're very interesting people that you want to ask questions to. Let's go. So Riot's 2017 press release, evolution of the NALCS, which was, by the way, that's code speak. That's a euphemism for franchising. Evolution of the NALCS. States that to address taking away from the threat of relegation, they were adding a policy so that, quote, teams can lose their right to compete in the league if they finish in 9th or 10th place 5 times over an 8-split span. For the last 4 splits, 2020 spring summer, 2021 spring and summer, CLG has placed 9th or 10th. With CLG starting off the split with a rocky start alongside TSM at the bottom of the standings, there is potential we may see this policy will be put to the test. Has there been any discussion around the league about future actions that will be taken against CLG if they continue to place at the bottom of the standings? What do you think are appropriate repercussions for a team that are constantly tanking? Okay. So let's talk about
Monty. I don't know actually what the owners in NA think. So let me get a guess first, and then you can give your take. 'Cause I'm sure your take is literally informed by what some of the owners. Basically, here's what I would say. I think the problem here is people don't get the mechanism of how change will happen in a league like the LCS. For my money, as someone who doesn't know, like I haven't asked any owner about this particular topic, I would personally guess Riot themselves won't attempt to enforce that unless, and this is the key mechanism, the majority of the owners say this is fucking up the league, like it's not good enough, and they make it the key point. If the rest of the owners sort of band together and are like, this is unacceptable, maybe right. If they just leave it otherwise, I don't think there's a million years that Riot fucks with that spot.
So, and here's why the owners will never want that. If a team can get removed from the league, it devalues their asset. I mean, that's it. If there is a threat that the team could theoretically be removed, it devalues the thing that they own. So they will never want it for that reason. They also won't want it for competitive reasons because CLG sucking is good for them.
Yes.
I don't know what you guys want. Like that's both of those things are true, and why the owners won't give a shit about CLG sucking. Yes. Now, put aside what the owners want.
Anyway, they never get that point though, because you notice what I did immediately is frame the customer of the league as the owner, because he is. But this is where the fans always get wrong, because they do this in LEC all the time. They're like, why don't we just kick Astralis out and bring like BDS? No, not BDS, sorry, K-Corp in. It's like, because guess what? I don't think G2 Fnatic are going to vote yes on that, are they? Like, why the fuck would they want a rival to come in the league? I think they're very happy with Astralis putting out piss-full rosters every split that they can just farm up for wins, of course. Remember, you have to pay millions to get in this league, boys. It ain't just free competition.
And also, I think from the league's perspective, people will bag on CLG, but it's not like CLG wasn't spending money on rosters. Like, think about, they had a bunch of veteran players. They weren't phoning it in, guys. Just because their rosters played badly doesn't mean that they weren't trying. I think
it might even have been last year. I'll check, but they had one dude where I remember thinking it was even good before. It might even have been the one last year. You know, the one with
the Broxah roster.
It had like Wild Turtle, Broxah, like it was all like legit players that had played in LCS.
Yeah, so I don't think that's exactly fair. Like, I think CLG underperformed relative to the perceived strength of their roster, and the irony is like now they just went with a bunch of NA like rookies, basically, or almost rookies, and they're doing better, right?
Yeah.
So. If anything, if they had this strategy for the last few years where they were just buying a bunch of cheap players and running them down, like you may have had a legitimate complaint, but the irony is that now they're not doing that, and yet they have a more competitive roster. But if I was the league, my perception is not that they were trying to be shit. So I think that they were potentially badly managed and they had bad PR. Those things are probably true, but they also changed their GM this last year, and they haven't Bud Light benched somebody recently. Which was hilarious, by the way, guys. Just esports things. Like, it's one of the reasons I love esports. Just, it's so easy to, the fruit just hangs so low a lot of the time in terms of having a laugh. So I don't think they'll do anything for a lot of reasons, nor do I think CLG deserves it. I really don't think CLG deserves it. So I think I don't think that will be really in question, especially because I don't think anybody would say they didn't improve this year either. That it hasn't been a.
And think about this, right? The team that before CLG everyone would have put is obviously awkwardly Golden Guardians, isn't it? If you look at the history of the team in franchising, right? Here's the problem. They're one of the only teams that has tried to develop NA talent, and you all keep saying you want NA talent developed. Like, so which is it? Are we going to actually punish teams for doing what you ask them to do? You know what I mean? Like, remember, if it wasn't for Golden Guardians, there wouldn't be that fucking core of 100 Thieves right now.
Yeah.
They took gambles on some of those players. So, I mean, to me, it's just, I think people have gone too far on that one. And also, spoiler, now that TSM's last place, there's zero chance they're getting fucking kicked out ever.
Also, you guys need to remember who owns CLG, which is Madison Square Garden Company, and there is nothing that Riot loves more than using Madison Square Garden so
Yes.
some of their executives can masturbate furiously
Yes.
about being in Madison Square Garden, guys. So
Yes.
they want that. It's a
And
prestige
by the
thing.
way, you kick them out the league, that fucking price for getting the venue goes way up instantly. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's already been announced that New York is one of the stops at Worlds, right? I'm pretty
That's
sure.
cool.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So it should be in Madison Square Garden again. It could also be the way that sports use the words New York to actually
It could
mean
be the fucking-
New Jersey,
There you
which
go.
could be, the Dignitas Stadium in Newark as well. Because the Dignitas is owned by the same people who own the New Jersey Devils. So it could, I guess, be that arena. But yeah, I think that is very unlikely to happen. Do you wish, here's another question. Do you wish League still had relegations in some form, especially when thinking about this split?
I personally do in general, because here's the thing. I understand and I actually can appreciate from a business side all the reasons why franchising has upsides. But my problem is this. The worst thing, in my opinion, about franchising is I now have to trust that the general managers of the top teams agree with me on who the players that are good are. So unfortunately, if you ever get a player, classic examples, Leader, etc. in the EU, where they have a rep that they're difficult or toxic, it doesn't matter even if they're good enough, they just might be essentially sort of low-key blackballed out of the league. Whereas in a world where you can go into promotions, make your own team with a couple of other people, and just spank the 10th place team and get in there, you can't deny certain talents. Certain people, if they're really good enough, they'll just get to the league. So that's the thing I've always appreciated about promotions, etc. And obviously coming from Counter-Strike, where you have a totally open circuit, I can tell you every year, you always have one or two teams that come in that you haven't really heard of, and they just rise through the ranks. Whereas in the Illegal Legends ecosystem, it would take you like 3 years to get to that level. You'd have to go like, this level, then in the RL, like it'd take you ages to get to that point.
I think for me, I do miss relegations in the sense that you say it, Thorin, but also I think there are other things that could be done that would help minimize the lack of relegations. We talked about this, and you guys should watch this if you're curious. The Four Horsemen show that we did talking about the moves in the LCS Players Association.
It came out today, by the way.
Yeah, it came out on
channel.
Pod today. It's on the YouTube channel, same YouTube channel. So we released the VOD this morning, but if you guys listen to that, one of the points that I make is that a problem within LCS is that if you are not one of the top teams and you can't attract good players, then you just won't spend money on players, right? Because it's a waste of money to move yourself from 10th place to 7th place if you can't field a good core to that team. And there's no hope because there's no draft, and there can't be a draft because there's not a players union that's negotiating a collective bargaining agreement. It's just illegal to do that in America. So what I would rather see is a draft so that teams at the bottom of the standings can at least try and find get the next JoJo Pion or whatever, and at least have a core that is signed for multiple years to build them, and thereby incentivize the teams to actually spend money and be more competitive. I think it's just hopeless for a lot of teams. And so you look at relegation, you're like, well, that would be a better option because at least it would create some drama. But I think you can make teams care in different ways besides just relegation. I would prefer the carrot approach as opposed to the stick approach, personally. What is the biggest surprise so far in LCS this split?
It's got to be Dignitas's team, surely.
Yeah, they've done a lot better than expected.
I would have had them as like the borderline playoffs at best. Like they're doing way better than anything. I mean, the problem is the de facto answer has to be TSM. Obviously, like, nobody thought they would be in last place for fuck's sake.
Yes,
but assuming we're taking them out of the equation is the obvious one.
I would say that Cloud9 looking like the strongest roster is also a bit surprising after TL got Core JJ back. You would have had a lot of questions about communication within the team, synergy, especially after LS left, and he was the person who brought these players together and they were all there to buy into his ideas of the meta and his coaching style, and for them to continue rolling after he left, I think is also pretty surprising. What release are you guys looking forward to this year? It can be a movie, book, video game, etc.
Let me think. Is there any movies coming out this year that are good? Let me think.
The problem, guys, is that I'm really insulated from
Yeah,
advertisements.
I don't tend to I don't read any sites that tell me what new shit's coming out. That's the problem.
And I don't really see ads because of the way that I consume media. I don't have cable TV, for example. So I would say for me, one thing I'm really excited about is the new God of War game. I think so I love Norse mythology, and I think the last God of War game was one of the best games I've ever played in terms of storyline and world building. And what I really loved about it was that they didn't introduce gods like Thor or Odin, and they just teased them a little bit, because so many pieces of media will just blow their load as fast as they possibly can and not actually have good pacing or like a build into a more epic narrative. They try and make it epic as epic as fast as possible, and there's nowhere to go after that, right? If you already make it so that the universe itself is on the line every single time or the first time, then there's nothing else to build into. And I really liked that game. And I think that game was like really well written, really well told. It was an interesting twist on Norse mythology. It was really fun to play. So I'm really looking forward to the second version of that, like the new God of War game.
Okay. Since I have to say something, I looked it up. So here we go. Right. Because I am a boomer and I don't follow any new shit, I don't know what new stuff's coming out. So all I've done is look up some of my directors that I like and see what's coming up. So apparently it should be coming out this year because it's apparently already in post-production. There is a movie coming, the new David Cronenberg movie comes out this year, which is called Crimes of the Future, and it has like Viggo Mortensen in it. So I will definitely watch that. Basically got an open ticket for David Cronenberg. Any movies he makes, I'll definitely be watching.
Speaking of directors, one of my favorite up-and-coming directors is this guy named Ari Aster, who did Hereditary and Midsommar. And he's got a new movie called Disappointment Boulevard that's coming out this year. And I think that will probably be very good. Let's move on. Have either of you read anything from Albert Camus? Yes.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, a lot of his books are quite short, if you don't know. Tons of them you can read for a particular day.
Yeah, L'Étranger is very short. I've actually read The Stranger in French because it's it's very simple to read in French. He uses very simple language in that book. And The Fall. I've also read The Plague.
Maybe.
Yeah, I've read The Plague.
Classic.
So I'm not huge on nihilism. I think it's a like a postmodern disease. So he's not my favorite. Let's put it that way. I don't resonate with things that deal with the level of arbitrariness that he views the world through his writing.
The problem is, it depends, in my opinion. He's a good example of an author. It depends where you are in your life. Like, one of the weird things about art that's at a high level, in my opinion, is depending on what phase of your life you encounter it, the art, it feels like the art changed, but the joke is you're different. That's what's totally different that's interfacing. So to me, if you're like, which I was, someone who in like the 90s as a teenager, I think that's exactly when his work is spot on. Like, if people don't know, Gen X was the ultimate nihilistic fucking generation where the idea was all of capitalism was just going to burn down and we were just going to play video games and smoke weed and wait for it to all finish. Except now it's 30 years later, so we have to fucking just put the hard hat on again, better get back to work building this civilization. So the problem is it doesn't really vibe with me as much now,
Yeah, I would say I haven't read Camus in a long, long time, but obviously like The Myth of Sisyphus is a really enduring academic essay.
If you like hard carries that after 1v9 in all esports games, is basically the fucking Bible of that concept.
I think everybody should read Camus because I think he was an incredibly influential thinker, and being able to refer to things like his take on The Myth of Sisyphus is really important if you want to understand modern thought. So I would advise reading him, but I wouldn't I'm not a huge Ayn Rand fan, but you should probably read some fucking Ayn Rand so you actually understand a lot of the concepts that get thrown around in the modern world, right? What is your favorite place in the world?
Problem with that is the world just gone done changed, didn't it? So I can't really answer that anymore. Like, guess what? It used to be Seoul, South Korea. Don't think I'll be going back for a while, probably now, lads. Not really my cup of tea. Not really vibing with me. We're going at different paces at the moment, you know. So sadly, I probably just have to say, what would I say now, actually? To be fair, I'll pick somewhere that, like, I'm just looking for. Like, I once went on holiday to Vietnam, and it was actually really fucking beautiful, mega idyllic. The food was mega, everything's cheap. You can afford, like, the best hotels. I would easily go back somewhere like that in a heartbeat, mate. Next chance I get to do, I'll do something like that. Thailand, Vietnam.
Oh, yeah, Southeast Asia is great. Yeah, Southeast Asia is great.
Also, when I was young, I wasn't a big fan personally of being out in the sun, but actually living in Korea is what broke me of that, because what I learned was, essentially, if you first go to Korea and you can't handle the sun, obviously you'll feel way too hot, you'll sweat and you'll burn up easily. But what I learned is you have to sort of just gradually let yourself get exposed a little bit. And after a few weeks, you actually get that mad thing where, like, your sweat glands, if people don't know, they just turn off. You stop sweating all the time. That's why you learn, oh, the Korean guy isn't that different to me. Like, because you see all these Korean businessmen who don't have, like, all the sweat. Like, what the fuck? How is he walking around like that? But your body just adjusts to it. So now I can appreciate the warmth, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like traveling to a lot of different places. I just enjoy traveling in general. So I don't know if I have a favorite place because I like seeing new things. I will say in general, like after years, I've lived in Europe, I've lived in Asia. I am pretty happy being in the States right now. I enjoy, it's not so much the cities in America that I like. I just missed when I lived in Korea, like you live in Europe, you miss the ability to be like truly alone. And there's something about the vastness, especially of the American West, and I'm from Colorado, that is very different. Like I can literally, you know, California is huge, and you can literally just, if you live in the West, just drive and then just be in the middle of nowhere and be in very beautiful scenery. And I really missed the ability to like get out into the middle of nowhere when I lived in Korea. It was, everybody is so densely populated, and Europe's so densely populated that it's hard to get out there. So I missed the wildness, and I enjoy that about being here. What's a band / TV series that you think is criminally underrated and or depressingly unknown? I've got a good answer for this. You have one?
I think because the problem is for band, I could go a million fucking deep on that. Like, let me think of what. Sure. Like, I'll give you a classic one of my actual favourite bands, but I won't pick the ones that anyone has a chance of knowing. But it's basically a band, it's a post-rock band, which if people don't know, is the best described as a type of music that goes quiet, quiet, loud, 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 quiet, 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 quiet. And it's just super, like, drawn out guitar music, basically. And there's a group from that called Explosions in the Sky. That is genuinely one of the best bands I've ever heard. And the thing is, some people might know a few of the bands in that genre. The most famous one is obviously Godspeed You Black Emperor. But actually not as many people seem to know Explosions in the Sky, so I'll list them. One of my favorites.
Yeah. So this will be an interesting for TV. I bet nobody's actually ever seen this. There is a 6-episode Canadian TV series called Slings and Arrows, which is a fictionalized version of the Shakespeare Festival. That there's a very famous Shakespeare Festival that happens in Ontario, and they basically fictionalized the story of this festival that does 3 different plays over these, or there's 6-episode seasons, so it's 18 episodes, I guess. And nobody has ever actually fucking seen this show except for me, even though it stars, one of the seasons stars a very young and then unknown Rachel McAdams, which is really interesting. But it is, I grew up doing theater. I did exclusively Shakespeare when I was in college, and it is an incredibly accurate depiction of what it's like to be involved in a theater troupe and production. And it's also just incredibly fucking well written. And the amount of content they can stuff into like a 6-episode season and have it be very meaningful and have all the characters be really interesting is just phenomenal. So it's probably something you've never seen, but it's really, really good. In terms of
I'll give you a TV show if you want one.
Yeah.
If you want a TV show, here's one that I can't believe people have never seen, but it's because it was a show that basically got cancelled, right? Believe it or not, in the early 2000s, Kevin Smith, the guy who made Clerks and Mallrats and all that shit, he actually made a series of Clerks that was an animated series in the style of like classic American like animation shows, but it has all the humor of Clerks and the whole like Ask universe in it, of like more like, I wouldn't say adult humor because it's more like teenage humor if anything, but like if you like those movies, this is like a must watch that most people haven't seen. It'll be on the internet somewhere. There's only like 6 episodes of that, I think, but it's exactly the same humor. They have all the voices of the people. Like they have Jane, he does the voice of Silent Bob and all that jazz. So it's mad underrated. I just don't think it's that famous, really.
And I like, in terms of bands, one of my favorite bands is this band called V&V Nation, which was 2 guys and is now only 1 guy named Ronan Harris. And they basically play in a kind of like goth genre, which they called super or future pop, but is kind of like dark wave. And the thing about this genre of music is that every other band in this genre is just
famous, right?
No, they're just bad.
Oh, really? Okay.
like basically any other band, it's like a niche genre that sort of like came out of some of the 80s stuff, like Sisters of Mercy, where you'd have very early goth music was like a lot of drum machine and then vocals.
It's like the industrial overlap.
It's like industrial.
Right?
Yeah. But the thing about it is that V&V never use drum machines. They just use an electronic drum kit. So you don't get the same kind of repetitive backing. It feels more organic while still getting that sound. And their lyrics are absolutely fucking phenomenal. And they're really good. And they just fall in this genre where no one is even anywhere close to as good as they are. And they've been going for like 20, 30 years now, like 20 plus years probably. And they're still an excellent band. And it's like their whole catalog is good. Even their early stuff, which is like a lot darker, is still really good in its own right. They put on fucking fantastic live shows. And they just kind of chill in Germany. They're very popular in Germany. Even though the main guy's Irish, and they travel sometimes, and just nobody knows about them. Just very, very, very underrated, I would say. So
was it supposed to be movies and movies as well?
Band. We can do movies if you want. It wasn't. It was band.
Because for movies is the easiest, because they're the ones where I've just watched a bazillion movies. So I've got a good one that tons of people have never seen. But here's the thing. I won't say it's like an amazing movie. It's more like it's like a really good like 7.5 out of 10. It's just something you'll have never heard of. If anyone knows the cult movie The Cube, the one where I won't spoil any of it. Basically, the director who did that, no one bothered following his career after that. But after that, he made a movie called Cypher. And it's basically, I won't give any of the plot away, but it's an espionage movie. And it's just mega creative. Like it's got Lucy Liu in it if you want a random name of a person. But it's a movie, again, no one's ever seen it. I assume it's like some fucking obscure movie. It's mad. Like, it's way better than you'd expect for out there. And it's got a really interesting plot line.
You recommended a good movie to me that I watched like within the last 6 months, which is a recent movie that probably nobody's seen, which is Mandy, which is a
cult following, but yeah.
It's another crazy Nicolas Cage movie because he's just at the point in his career where he can do the weirdest shit ever, and he's great in all of it.
He's another guy I give a total carte blanche. You can do any movie, I'll give it a try.
Yeah,
because sometimes they're mega for real like this, aren't they? Sometimes I know they'll just be mega.
How would you describe Mandy? It's Nicolas Cage being abducted by a group of homicidal LSD addict biker gang.
It's one of the most intense movies you can ever watch, basically. Like, it's one of those movies where like the soundtrack just becomes part of the movie and you're just like, holy fuck. And everything about this movie is mega stylized. Like, the soundtrack's totally unique. The color scheme, like, he has a different palette of colors for all the different moments. And like, it's the problem is though, it's a mega intense movie.
Yeah. I would say it didn't really bother me. I watched it a little bit high. I would not recommend that.
That could fuck with you a little bit. I also watched it high. I could handle it. Yeah, exactly.
I can take it, but like probably not super.
It gets a bit dark that way. Yeah, you have to basically be able to tell yourself just a movie. As long as you can do that, you're fine. If it becomes more than just a movie, you're a deep shit. Yeah, exactly.
maybe wouldn't recommend doing that.
Not before bedtime, put it that way.
That's what I did. It was
watch it at like 2
interesting.
p.m. on a sunny day on the afternoon with a nice glass of milk. Exactly. And have mom on fast dial just in case you need to powwow with the old chick, you know.
All right. Well, that's the last question. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Next week, we'll be talking about LEC playoffs. Odo Amne will be the guest. We'll see you then.